Okay, folks, we'll call the meeting to order. Economic Development Commission, October 17th, 6 p.m. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. First, actually, our second agenda item is our list of citizens, and I guess we have a few folks here, maybe.
We do, yes. Linda, why don't you start first? CCRC had spoken to us last meeting. And I don't know if there was still a question or not. I think we're going to do a little bit of research on relationship with the Transition Center. So I don't know if you could talk briefly, Linda, about relationship between CCRC and the Transition Center on Main Street.
Sure. So I wanted to come back and visit again, number one, to see if people had any follow-up questions, or if I had well enough depicted, who we are and the services that we provide. So I just wanted to clarify that we work with adults, so that's people over the age of 18. Most people come to us when they're 22 and over, who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. Some have autism, not all have autism. And, we have day and employment programs. For our day programs, which will be a big part of what will be at the 1103 Chamberlain Highway site, should we, go through with the purchase of the building. There are, think of a continuum of levels of independence, levels of ability. Some of the individuals that we serve are very active. They're out in the community. They might go to volunteer sites. They might participate with community cleanup days, like Comcast Caring Days, that kind of thing. They might go to the movies. They may go out to dinner. They, may go to parks. And everything that we do, all these various different activities that we do, is teaching people living skills, how to exchange money, how to order your dinner, how to, go out in the community and interact with other people. We have some people who are maybe a little bit more medically challenged, and they're in, walkers and wheelchairs and less mobile. Maybe they're a little bit more geriatric, and they may have a program that's more sedentary, that kind of stays in the building a little bit more. And maybe they're doing art classes, or maybe they're doing some sort of, reading and discussion type group, or, perhaps there's a music therapy class. So there's multiple groups that are divided, they each have a manager associated with them, and then direct support staff that work hand over hand to help people work with whatever task it is, whether it's, getting their lunch ready and helping them eat, or, even daily living skills, everything from toileting to, maybe somebody's working on something like computer skills. I mean, it could be that wide of a spectrum. And that's why we break down into like smaller groups and have numerous activities going on.
Linda, do me a favor. I realize I forgot to just say that. If you could just mention your name and title. I realized I forgot to ask you that.
Sure. So I'm Linda Iavana, and I'm the CEO at CCARC Inc. And our main building is located on 950 Slater Road. So then the other part of what we do is employment programs. And that's for people who, generally speaking, are a little bit more higher functioning. And they're either in a program to help them become employed, which maybe they're working on how to interview, or how to write a resume, or how to fill out an application, or perhaps they're doing job shadowing at various different businesses. Or they're employed in a group. So maybe there's a small group of 3 or 4 individuals that go out to a job site with a job coach. Maybe they're helping out bagging at Stop and Shop, or they're cleaning shelves, or, we do some manufacturing type jobs, repetitive motion type jobs. And then we have people who are, independently placed. And organizations like mine, so there are ARCs across the state. There's 12, and then I'm not sure how many private providers there are. I'm sure over 50. And we work with, hi, Michael. We work with schools, we work with social workers, we work with DDS case managers, and we work with families who have students who are graduating, and they're personally going out and kind of searching for a program that works best with them. And, they'll come and tour our programs. They'll see what kind of activities and programs we offer, and families and the individuals are, it's person-centered planning. So the individual receiving services has a say in like where they'd like to receive services. So the transition academies, to that particular question, and I'm not sure the degree of the relationship that CCARC and the Berlin Transition Academy have had in the past. We must have collaborated. I know that we work with other transition schools. So that kind of school is more high school through to the age of 22. But at 22, they what we call age out. And then they go to a private provider. So the Transition Academy would refer one of their graduating students, if you will, to a private provider like CCARC. So I hope that clarifies it. And Michael Carrier, who just joined the room, is one of our long-time supporters. Family was actually founding family, and may be able to speak even more to how our services help families and individuals. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions from any of the commissioners?
No, I think we're satisfied.
Okay, Mr. Carrier, any comments, or you want to add anything to what Linda said?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mike Carrier, and my sister was a longtime member of CCRC. My parents helped organize it, as Linda said. And we have a long history dating back in Berlin from Doc McIntosh, as you know. One of our first group homes over on Sims Road. And then we have another on High Road and then down South Mars. We also had a day program similar to what we're talking about now over at the old Kensington Furniture warehouse next to the, and we were there for a number of years. It was actually I think it was Doc McIntosh Work Center or something. And again, we've had a great relationship with the town and with really the whole central Connecticut, because we're really a bringer providing services for people with intellectual disabilities. And yeah, I think that this property is such a great fit, because it doesn't really change why we're changing the use of the property. Everything's going to pretty much remain the same from the road. I mean, it may take down the religious articles and cross out front type thing, but other than that, there's no exterior changes, and it's a very quiet use where the clients will come in the morning and leave in the afternoon. And the setup of the building is great, because you, like Linda was saying, you don't have one big large area where everybody's in maybe a room this size, and they're doing a certain level of work, and then in another room it'll be something completely different, and then they'll have staff in each room. So it works. It's tough to find good space, and this, I think, would be very low impact use, as was the church too. And they want to pass it on to someone who will do good, and so they held out for us, even though they probably got more money for private developer or something. So just wanted to kind of.
All right, any questions or commissioners for Mr. Carrier?
No, the only thing I would say is if you do move forward with Berlin, I would want you to reach out, work as close as you can with our Berlin Transitions program. Maybe
We'd be happy to do that.
All right, thank you, Linda.
All right, thank you all for taking the time this evening. And Michael, thank you for taking the time to join us. All right, bye, everybody. Don't hesitate to call if you have further questions.
All right,
We're gonna do the Chamberlain Highway only, because a couple folks here, I believe, are here to speak on that one.
do these guys up here?
Yes, so okay, I believe Ari is the principal of the company. Brad Munshine is attorney. Jeff, I believe, is also another partner, and then Scott Bristol is, I believe, their engineer.
Hey, Chris.
So I don't know who would like to kind of take the lead. Actually, hold on one second if you would. I know there was a question that we had. Why don't we start with that from the commission, then we can get the engineers kind of on board to start the process. Get playing out here. So I believe last time there was a couple of questions that you guys had, particularly for the engineers.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna- Oh, yes, on that one. Thank you all. Thank you.
Plan here, so.
Chris, it would be helpful for me just to make the introductions.
Absolutely, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, while you're doing that. Sure. So I'm Brad Munshine. I'm the attorney for the company that is developing the project on the site. And was here a couple weeks ago speaking with the commission, and Jeff Lakeman as well is helping develop the project as a representative of the owners. And the two of us were here last time for the hearing and for this meeting, and we were asked some of the engineering questions and kind of some of the more technical questions about the project that neither of us had the answer to. And so we brought back with us today three additional folks. Chaim Tovia, who is the manager of the current greenhouse that is operated by the company down in Guilford, Connecticut, and would be the plant manager as well for the project in Berlin. And then we have Scott Bristol and Tom Daly, both from SLR, who are our site engineers for the project and develop the plans that you guys are looking at on the table. So we brought back some people who can answer your questions on the technical side, and hopefully you guys, the commission gets the information they want.
Perfect. First question was the height of the buildings, and then the second question was the distance from the road of the buildings. We can give you the height, just for the perspective, because we're looking at the ones here, including the shot here. You can see it, but the one here that shows the trucks, etc. Just want to kind of get an idea, perspective-wise, we're looking at it from the road.
So Tom, why don't you take that and we'll go from
Well,
there.
from the architectural design, I think, Chaim, can you talk about how tall the building is? You're on mute, sorry.
All right, everybody can hear me?
Yes.
All right, so the height of the building would be just under 30 feet, most likely 28, 29 feet, that's it. Originally, we wanted 40, and we were able to decrease the height of it.
Gotcha. And this is probably a better question for the engineer, which is the distance between the first building and the road. Do you know about how far it is to what looks like, I'm not even sure exactly the functionality of the front building. It looks like the back are growing, but the front building, I'm guessing, is probably warehouse production. That you can tell me better than probably describing it.
Yeah, so the zoning regulation requires a front yard of 200 feet.
Okay.
So the corner of the building is 200 feet, a little over 200 feet from the right-of-way line.
Gotcha.
And the way the building's structured is there's the head house, which is the offices, the restrooms, and more, operational, it's the loading dock. And then beyond that is the greenhouse. And then there's a gap that allows for a phase 2 greenhouse to the rear of the property.
Okay. Question from the commission. Oh, thank you. Is this going to be commercial or 490 from a tax perspective? Oh,
Right
can
here.
you hear? You're on mute.
Sorry, you mean from property taxes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the property itself, we would claim as continuing to be an agricultural use for purposes of property taxes. And which it should be, because it's going to be a greenhouse and it's going to be agricultural. So the property use itself, the actual dirt would be greenhouse 490. I believe that's what you're asking.
Yes. And full-time equivalent jobs on site?
I think that would be Chaim's.
Yeah, we should
Answer for
be
that.
somewhere about 20 employees.
And are you looking at probably regular business hours? Is that really what we're looking at, Chaim?
Yes, winter time 6 to 2, summertime 5 to 1. 5 days a week.
Any particular reason it's that early at 5? Just curiosity's sake.
Yes, it's a greenhouse, and we are working. We can't really harvest in the heat of the day. In the summer, at least, we want to keep it low, and we usually harvest till about 10 o'clock, no later than that. So that's why we start early, just to have all the pickup and ready by before noon. And that's a daily thing. So after harvest, we'll be planting and seeding and all kind of other good job.
Yep. How often do you see truck traffic? What time truck traffic? Because I'm again looking at the drawing, it looks like there's a couple 18-wheelers, so I'm guessing that's how
Yes.
raw material comes in and then finished goes out, I'm guessing.
So we are, in the morning, we don't accept anything till about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And we're not going to have more than, at the worst scenario, maybe 2 trucks a day. It's so much you can do it daily, but it's going to be like a daily 1 to 2, no more than that. Because we're working right now at the first phase and the second, it will be, we are dedicated grower to a company that have a schedule to come and pick it up. So there's not more, it's not like a distribution center.
And so 2 trucks a day coming in, probably the same number going out then, or is it really going to depend upon the harvest?
The in, out within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that's it.
I have a question.
Sure.
I have the property next door where the Christmas trees are.
Yep.
Is there any reflective issues that might affect my crop from the glass?
No. And it's not going to be probably glass, it's going to be,
Well, I'm using that
Polycarbonate.
as a broad term.
so no, there's no reflection. I mean, we really need sun, but that's all we can get, not for reflection purposes, for growing purposes.
Well, I'm not worried about you getting the sun. I'm worried about the sun coming off of your material that the greenhouse is made of and affecting my plants.
No.
Can you give me some reasons as to why not, as to what type of material it is? Can you pretty much guarantee that fact?
I can guarantee it. We don't have any issues in Guilford. It doesn't affect anything at all. It's a aluminum.
Is there any crops growing next door to the glass, the houses in Guilford?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's hay. There is everything. It's a farm. I invite you to see it. It's a pinchback farm in Guilford.
Well, a
And
farm
they
is a
have-
broad term. I mean, I have 8, 9, 10-foot Christmas trees next door, and I'm wondering.
They have Christmas tree as well behind our greenhouse.
Same type of material?
Yeah, it's in the back of the property. They have one lot over there and another 50-acre across the other side.
Mhm.
So it's not, there's cows around the farm. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't interfere with anything.
I'll be honest, with you, your answer is not making me feel very comfortable, perfectly honest with you.
Why?
I would like to know what type of material it is to see if it actually does that or not.
The
Well,
material. Go ahead.
This is Jeff Lightman. Would you like us to have I'm not sure what type of engineering firm issue you some type of greader assurance that
Yeah, I would like to see some type of facts on
there
it,
is
basically.
that kind of
Yeah.
problem that will cause your trees to have a problem growing?
And
Yeah, I'd like to have some information on that.
I think, Jeff, what we can provide is a cut sheet or the product literature on the material that's actually used for, I think Chaim said it's not actually glass, it's a poly carbonate material. So I assume it's a regularly available product. So Jeff, maybe we can get just a product literature on it and provide that.
Please, thank you.
Mr. Airy, you had indicated there's no trouble in Guilford currently with type of with reflective issues there, but is the material that will be on the outside of the Berlin facility the same as the material that's on the Guilford facility?
Well, not really, because in Guilford, it's glass.
Okay, all right, I understand that. And so with glass, Guilford, you have no trouble. But the material you're gonna
Right.
use in Berlin for the outside of the building will be different than Guilford.
Yeah, I mean,
So the
this,
comparison may not be exact.
but this facility has been built in many locations around the world of the same quality and the same materials. So we'll get back with the designers who have experience throughout the world, and we'll get you more information on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners regarding this matter? Okay, I have a couple of questions. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna see if anyone from the public that had come had any thoughts or questions they'd like to express as well.
Okay, so one of the issues, gentlemen, that we talked about last time was stormwater. And we talked about, Jeff and Brad had explained to us that the stormwater collection system brings the water under the building. That was what we learned, but they weren't 100% certain how it all works, so they want to bring in the
Sure.
SLR guys here. So maybe you could explain it to us, because your property, your building is gonna cover, I think, about 9 acres. And so
Correct.
that stormwater that would normally just rain on the ground and wash off and fill streams and
Yep.
saturate the soil
yeah.
is gonna be a little different. So the commission
Correct.
wanted to better understand what
Correct.
your plans were with that.
Yep.
And how
And I-
water that you collect might be used.
Okay, and I can explain that. So we really have two drainage systems on the site. So one, we have some small areas of new pavement and gravel. So that is being handled by, there is a stormwater basin in the front of the site in that 200-foot gap between the setback, and then there's a small basin way in the back. And so clearly that's traditionally the drainage type system that this commission has seen. Its sheet flows into it, or it has some catch basins. Those basins are designed for the 100-year storm. They're going to hold basically all the flow from the site for the 100-year storm for the paved areas, and then infiltrate that that water back into the ground. In terms of the building itself, so we had a unique so what it's constructed in a way, it has a perimeter foundation, but it does not have a concrete floor. So inside the foundation wall is a layer of stone. It's a 18-inch to 2-inch, 2-foot layer of stone that has and the stone we're specifying has basically a 40% void capacity into it. So it's basically a reservoir of volume. And that will just be the walking surface that is used inside the greenhouses. So what happens is water will hit the roof, and essentially it'll go down to the gutter system and then go into a perforated pipe system that is covering the entire gravel surface, and it puts the water right back into it. So really the only difference is under today, the water hits the ground. Ultimately, the water will hit the roof, go into a pipe, and basically get right into the ground over the same footprint that currently happens today. We also went out there and did soil testing and calculated the percolation rate in the existing soil and found that it was a very good system. So there's no proposed reuse of the water. We're getting water through a different source. The intent is frankly just take every drop of water that hits the site to put it right back into the ground. This will be a zero discharge site. Basically everything gets put back into the ground, just as it goes out to there today. If you went out there today, you're not going to see any discharge points off the existing site. So essentially the gravel is basically a bathtub with this void space in the stone, but then it percolates right into the natural soil. So we think it actually spreads out the water so it matches existing conditions instead of just piping it to a basin in the back and concentrating all the water in one location. So we were very pleased with this concept that came up. So because it basically spreads, like I said, it spreads that water over, as you said, about 8.5 acres of land and gets good infiltration.
Thanks.
I'm not done.
Okay, no, I'm sorry.
No, I'll say.
I just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit more. As far as the lettuce being grown, and obviously it's gonna have to be fertilized. And I'm assuming I'm not sure what type of irrigation system is gonna be fertilized, but will there be any dripping of the irrigation into this stone, which goes into the soil?
No, our system is enclosed, the whole tubs, it grows in tubs. Our whole system is enclosed. We don't drain anything out. We don't replace the water. It just goes through system of cleaning and it stay there. Other than evaporation or consumption of the plants, the water doesn't go out. There is no overflow, no spill, no nothing. And maybe it's a little early to say, but most likely our fertilizer will be organic to begin with. So there is no harm to environment whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? One last question that we started talking about last session. When Jeff and Brad were here, Jeff had indicated in his introduction and his initial conversations to the commission that there were no chemicals used at all on your lettuce. But towards the end, Attorney Brad indicated that you guys used pesticides. So, and after I had questioned those two gentlemen regarding this matter, they said they were going to check with Guilford to see how often pesticides were used. So I'm curious, are pesticides used? Are they used in Guilford currently? And are you going to use them in Berlin?
Well, the only pesticides that we use are in, we hardly do, but it's only in a change of season. And that's not anything with chemical, it's all organic, preventing in a nursery stage to prevent all kind of leaf disease or strengthening the roots in the winter and summer. That's all it is. We don't pesticize like for insects at all. We try to keep it as clean as possible. I personally eat my lettuce as it is, so I'm just giving you an idea. And if we do whatever we do, we all work with the EPA, keep record. Everything is in line. We try not to do it at all, if possible. That's our mission.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well,
Anything else,
can I
folks?
just add one other
Sure, go
piece?
ahead, Jeff.
In Guilford, and as Chaim said, anybody is welcome to take a tour of the Guilford facility. We're using a nearly 100-year-old greenhouse that from time to time has gaps and that, you know, sometimes insects could get in. In a new high-tech greenhouse, you don't have those kinds of gaps. So you don't have to deal with insects or any infestation. So it's in a modern greenhouse, it's whole different ballgame than where we're at. The other thing that is important to note is that we work under much more rigorous food safety standards than the FDA authorizes. We work under the European Union standards, and we have 7 years worth of inspection reports that demonstrate the high safety standards that we've worked under, but they are a stricter safety standard than the U.S. Food Safety Administration.
Thank you, Jeff.
I don't know if any of the
We're asking,
other members of the public would like to.
anybody who's here from the public would like to ask a question, I think it would be all right if you just
Absolutely,
agree.
absolutely.
They're welcome to ask a question.
Yeah,
Sure,
we'll
yes.
keep it long with it.
No, that's all right. Just state your name and then go.
My name is Bob Fontanella,
Okay.
Fontanella Farm.
Okay, so
We own the 27 acres directly across from this property, right across from Appleman. We have two concerns. The concern how the effect of this business will be on our land and what we currently do. We do hay, we have bees, we have strawberries, we have fruit, we have vegetables, we have things. Second of all, and probably more important, how this is going to affect our house and our family and what we do. Now, all of a sudden, we've got this big manufacturing building and the trucks coming in and things happening like that. The noise from the filtration system that we have, okay, concerns to the filtration is going to go, is that going to affect our land and our business and what we do? But second of all, the noise from that, is this going to affect how we live now? I don't know if trucks are going to come after closing hours. We just have concerns. Now, we've lived there, I'm third generation, we've been on the property 85 years. All of a sudden, things are changing. And we like to at least be able to talk to people and say, well, how about this? How about that? I know this isn't the business and time to do it. I do it. I just want to express Fontanella Farm has concerns.
Absolutely. No, I think those are viable concerns. So I don't know, Chaim, if you want to take on the different things from noise, trucks, traffic, et cetera, or water quality. Well, water quality is probably more so the engineers, but just maybe a couple of questions that he had as he is across the street.
Well, where we start with the traffic, we're talking 2 trucks a day. It's in and out. They're not going to be in the property more than 20-30 minutes at the most. So it should not affect anything. There is a traffic on Chamberlain Road to begin with. There's not much of a noise. There's not like horn or anything. They're coming in, they're loading, and they're leaving. There's nothing else by that.
Usually, Chaim, between 10 and noon, is that when the folks usually come by?
This is the window we normally give them. Maybe it can go, we're not, when we're not in the greenhouse, we're not working, nobody's gonna get in and get out. We're not, we don't accommodate. We have to be on site in order to supply, to have them pick up. So they have to be within the window, and it's not in the morning. So it's 10 to 1 at the latest. That's the window.
Another question for you.
Yep.
Are there any fans or other constant noises that the greenhouse is going to make, air coming in and out, that kind of thing? I don't know if there's anything like that or.
No, everything, it's what you see, the greenhouse and the head house, it will be one big compound and everything is within. There's nothing going out, no noises, nothing. Everything is inside. So it's again, you're welcome to come. If you have any concern, I'm inviting anybody, if just let me know. Where we at right now, there's no noise. If you walking outside of the greenhouse, you hear nothing. There's no noises. There's no machinery there. Everything, we work with hands.
Yeah, there are water pumps, there are fans, but the noise, if from inside, even when you're inside, you don't really hear very much when you walk outside. You don't hear anything. We're glad to have you come down. We're glad to come up and sit in a little conference room nearby and answer all the questions that you may have with a group of neighbors, if that's helpful to you, and raise every issue that you could come up with, and we'll be glad to come to you, or if 3 or 4 different neighbors want to come down and do a tour. Just recognize that in Guilford, we're dealing with a very, very old facility. So we have some videos of a modern facility that we can also show you when you're there. But we want to make sure that you're comfortable and that we're not going to change your lifestyle at all.
So go back, the other question. Okay, yeah, sorry, you were saying, attorney.
No, I was going to
Chris,
say.
Chris, go ahead, Jeff.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, Chris, I wanted to just address the water issue.
Yep.
As well, which was raised, and the water issue was also raised by the Planning and Zoning Commission as well when the text amendment went through, and there was so on a runoff side, I think you heard from the engineers that's a pretty simple system. To me, it sounds like a pretty simple system. I'm sure it's not simple to put in, but it's a pretty simple system that brings the water right back into the ground. So there's nothing about that. There's no water that comes out of the facility itself. It's a self-contained facility. The water either evaporates or is used by the plants. So there's nothing that goes into the ground from the water being used on the facility or in the facility. And then water for the facility, we've entered into an agreement or we call it a letter of intent with the city of Meriden that we're going to be able to get the water for the irrigation from the raw water line that they have that runs along Chamberlain Highway. So so there should be no impact at all on the water or quality of water or use of water for that area.
Is the water line adjacent to the property, or is it a well? I'm just trying to remember. I believe that there is a well in the area that they have. Is that what you're talking about, or a different thing? Scott, do you want to talk about the water?
Yeah. So the city of Meriden does have a well a little bit further south, but it is not being put back into service. They have a diversion permit in place for that, but City of Meriden, it does not have current plans to put that back in service. The raw water main runs between reservoirs for the City of Meriden, and that's the main. I believe it's 20-inch diameter pipe running down Chamberlain Highway. Don't quote me on the exact diameter. I don't recall off the top of my head.
Okay, so the water's coming from Meriden, not coming from Berlin then. So the residents will still have the water for Berlin, the pressure, et cetera then.
There is no groundwater being used for irrigation purposes for the property. There will be a typical homeowner type well to serve the bathrooms for the facility.
Well, the reason I'm asking is with Mr. Fontanella's farm across the street and then Mr. Bostrom's tree farm next door, that is definitely a great concern, because if there's no water, you can't grow any crops. So it's good to know that it's coming from Meriden.
Right. So the raw water main runs for between the two reservoirs. It's just simply a transfer mechanism. It actually also feeds, I believe, 4 fire hydrants for the town of Berlin along Chamberlain Highway. So if they were ever needed, they obviously they pull the water right from the raw water main as well.
So how big is this proposed project compared to what you have in Guilford? How big is that one? How big is this one comparison?
In Guilford, we have 2 acres. And this one, the first phase will be, I believe, a little over 4 acres, and total not more than 8.
It's 8.5.
You're trying to maximize the whole property.
No, we actually don't. We're gonna use even less than 50%. we allowed about 60, but because of design, we're probably going to use 8.5 or 9. That's
So
about
this
it.
is 9 acres and the one in Guilford's 2 acres.
Yes.
8.5, just to be clear, it's 8.5 acres.
We're on a 20-acre parcel. So the text amendment says we can't have any more than 60% building coverage. And so we'll be under that 60%.
Answer your questions, majority then?
Yes, just one more thing. If I
Yes,
could,
of course.
I definitely would like to see Guilford, I'd like to, from my perspective, and I won't speak for the other part, but I want to go see, I want to see how this is going to affect. That's all.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I would say maybe the best bet is, because I don't know if any other commission members would like to go down as well, but I can always try to schedule something to go down there, and maybe we get a little caravan of cars to go down or something, which probably would be.
That'd be great, Chris. I think that would be really welcome. And what I would suggest is work with Jeff and Chaim.
No problem.
And we welcome the opportunity to come up and chat with anybody that can't make it down to Guilford to make sure that we're answering everybody's questions in every possible way.
I have one more question. As far as the retaining wall in the north end of the project, how high is that going to be? So it's going to be raised up a little bit as far as what the elevation is now?
Yes, it is. Well, it's raised up only in the sense that the topography goes up and down along the property lines. So the vast majority of the wall is only 2 to 3 feet. There is one small section on the north end where the topography kind of dips. The wall does go up to 9 feet. But like I said, I think over half of that wall is only 2 feet tall. And the southern retaining wall is once again mostly only 2 to 3 feet tall, but it does have one section that gets up to about 4 feet tall. So it's just to take up, there's some dips in the topography along the property line. But as you stand in the street, we are not raising the site up to elevate the building.
We went down there in off hours. Could we see this visibly from the street? If we didn't go as a group and went, just took a ride down there, your facility in Guilford?
No, I don't think you'll see it from Post Road.
No.
No.
The gate gets locked, I think.
Okay.
No. The gates doesn't get locked. There is a driveway goes in. You might be able. Are you guys familiar a little bit with Guilford?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know there's across from the shopping center, across the street, there's a big one, and across from it there's.
Hey, what is the address? I'll grab it up on a map here. That
929 Boston Post Road. But you familiar with the restaurant? It's called The Place. It's kind of barbecue outside.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to the place, you can see our greenhouse from there. That's the only way you can see the greenhouse from the road.
So that one's kind of hidden. It's not out.
No,
Little
there's trees that's between the main road to where we at. But there is a driveway. You're welcome to come in, so there's no problem. The only way you can see it, it's either from I-95 or from Boston Post Road through the place to the restaurant.
Yeah. 4 times out.
Already, thank you. Yeah, I just pulled it up quickly here, just so everybody here could see it. So, okay.
Any other questions, folks?
I don't have so much a question, but I live across the street and I have a farm on Heritage. I've been there 11 years. We have a brook that runs along my east side called Stockings Brook. This year in July, has nothing to do with you guys. This year in July, with a 5-6 inch deficit of rain, Stockings Brook went bone dry for the first time. I called the town and asked them to look into it to see if anybody was putting a pond and damming it up. The town came back and said that we're fed by a spillway over at Elmere Reservoir. That if you look at the water level, it's down 18 feet. I find it very, very troubling that with a 5-inch deficit that our reservoir dropped 18 feet. With 4 inches of rain from August through September, my brook is now flowing again. So I have a serious concern that Meriden is moving water around, taking it away from these farms that are down this end that we used to irrigate and we used to water our animals. So that may impact you guys if they're doing that with the water lines and things of that nature. They may bump these guys in the same way. Because that brook is on the map. It should have water flowing all the time. And it was bone dry. So I want you to be aware of that as well, because it did affect all our farms.
Any, yeah, Scott, one other question. You talked about water, Scott. How many gallons a day are you guys gonna take from Meriden?
Oh, Chaim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're talking upwards of 14,000 gallons a day,
10,
10 to 14.
10. For the whole, yeah, a day. The pipeline that runs from Meriden, it supply a million gallon a day, I think.
Yeah, I believe their diversion permit is for a couple million gallons per day. Sorry.
So we really don't interfere with this water flow.
Yeah, all right, any other questions of commissioners this evening for these gentlemen? Any questions from the guests that are here tonight?
I got it.
Sure.
I'm Rich Solon, 95 Apple Lane. I'm totally against this thing because I gotta look at it the rest of my life. I've lived here 30 years. One of my biggest concerns is there gonna be lighting here all night?
No.
Would you guys like to have this in your backyard? Okay, I do answer your question. All right, that's all I gotta say. This thing.
Rich, could you tell us where your house is exactly right here?
Yeah.
This
This
is
is the one I live.
Our
I
house
got
is
so close
directly
to my
across from
property
the
line.
building. I'm on the same side as Keith. Oh, I'm on the other side, but my house, my house is directly across from that building. It's gone up.
The red
I bet you it's not even 200 feet.
Like it's a proof right on its side.
So from my bedroom, I could be looking at it.
Me too.
This place is residential, let's face it, the whole area is residential. Just because of that zoning there doesn't mean it's still not residential. All the Chamberlain Highway is residential.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from any of our guests? Any questions from commissioners? Any final comments from you gentlemen?
Yes, one comment. When you guys come to visit, you'll see that not that far away, we can actually see there is residential homes over there, and they've been there for over 100 years, 200 years. And they live there and they come and visit us, and we don't interfere with their life, and you can most likely knock on the door and talk to them too.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chris.
Sure, what, yeah, what I'd like to
Thanks,
do
Chris.
is just quickly, thank you guys. Bill, are you there? Bill Coons? There you are. So if you flip a couple pages into this, there were a handful of questions that had come up about the sports complex on Fort Rock Road. And so the answers were here. It's like the fourth page, the third page. Third page.
It's double sided.
Yeah. So those are the questions, and then. So those are the questions that you had mentioned at the last meeting, so I wasn't sure if there were other questions that Bill can answer.
That's it.
Hours of operation, that might change a little on the weekends.
Yeah, like I say, weekends likely be different hours, Bill. Can't hear you. You're muted.
Could you repeat that again?
Sure, no, weekend hours. It looks like that the 3 to 9 is probably gonna be weekday. Are you thinking weekend would probably be most of the day?
It comes and goes, depends how the leagues shape up. But yes, there'll be more activity on the weekends than during the day, than during the week.
Okay.
And I do know, I have been authorized to let everyone know who the group is. So it's an excellent group, Vale Basketball. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Yep.
So they have an excellent reputation. And they would be the tenant that'd be occupying the place for the next 10 years.
Are they signing some kind of deal with you guys? Because I thought Vale, I know they played out of Middletown. I thought the owner had part of that building as ownership.
They have soccer at Vale and they have basketball.
Yeah.
And they have outgrown their facilities. And and I guess as it pertains to basketball, a more custom designed facility will suit their needs better.
Okay, and I don't know if you have to answer this, but it says, will there be seating for fans if games are held there? And is there enough parking? And it says there will be seating for fans and 82 parking spots.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I don't know if you're trying to keep that to yourself, or like how big are the courts versus, is there gonna be stands and bleachers?
Well, in the beginning, there won't be, but there will be stands as the business matures. And we have great baseline because over in Middletown, right on that Cromwell border where they are right now, they don't have more than 85 spots there. And they're never more than 40 cars in the parking lot. And they do have limited seating there as well. This isn't something that you're going to have like a high school basketball game where you're going to have a tremendous amount of seating, but you will in time have limited seating in the facility.
Okay, I've just, I've been involved in various sports, and if you have a tournament, you're gonna have everything from an 8U to an 18U with all the teams in between. And you run the tournament, the 8U teams, if there's 5 or 6 teams in there, coming from all over the state, 9U, 10U, 11U, I don't know how many, I know Vale make, I don't know how many teams they have, I'll put it that way. But, you're gonna have teams that wait. Oh, we got a 10 o'clock game, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Those teams are waiting. If it's basketball,
And it's a good point, because what I noticed when I sit in the parking lot and view what they're doing over in Middletown is that there's blocks of time for about 45 minutes at these 45-minute intervals where you'll have heavy car flow, but they're not really parking. They're kind of coming in, picking up a bunch of kids, and then they're leaving. So I have not seen, because I parked there, I've not seen the place fill up, but boy, I see some volume come in at times, and they circle in and circle out as they pick up the kids. But they got it pretty down to a science. It's pretty amazing.
Excuse me, how many courts are you gonna have in the building?
3.
And they're full-size courts?
Yes.
Yeah. Locker rooms or no?
Limited, for basically, there won't be showers, but there'll be, bathrooms, limited stuff for kids to throw their stuff, but not full, like high school locker rooms.
Right.
Not at this stage. Now, he could, put a loft in there later on, but it's not contemplated at this time.
Thank you.
So who's Bill? This whole thing.
Bill is the property owner. Bill Coon's the property owner, sorry, I should have put that forward. Yes, so Bill owns the 100,000 square feet in the rear. He owns this lot in front. He sold the other lot off to Complete Sheet Metal. So essentially, he owns the back building and then the front lot that at one point it was one large property, it was subdivided into its own separate lot.
You know, and I will say this, because of the weekend volume, it will not bump heads with the business that we have now in back with the 100,000 square foot building, because that building catches all its volume during the workday and during the work week. And on the weekends, when this stuff goes on and, you know, people are picking up their kids, I think it complements it. I don't think we're going to run into issues.
My concern is not the parking, it's even not the traffic, but it sounds like they're trying to shove 3 basketball courts in, and there's not gonna be enough room for the participants and their families. And if you're running a tournament, kids are coming from all over. It's not just local where you can drop them off. They're coming from Massachusetts, New York, Lower Connecticut, Rhode Island. Tournaments, you know, they come from everywhere, and you know, I spent a lot of time in that other building, not for basketball, prior to them putting the basketball courts in. Yeah, and I could see where the issue was. People watching, they actually had baseball or turf fields. They played soccer, they had baseball. And that was a major issue where people were actually standing all over the place, let's put it that way. So that sounds like they're just kind of shoving this in. That's my only concern.
It should be noted too, on Thursday when we go in, we are seeking the approval for a 22,500 square foot footprint. But it also, we're trying to get it approved for, it's actually an extra 6,000 square feet. So if they want to expand because they find congestion, that they'll be able to do so, but their initial rent that they're looking for from us, for us to build for them, is just the 22,500. And they said that as they grow, they would look for that expansion possibility. And maybe what you're talking about is what they're thinking about. I don't know. I didn't ask the question.
So they're gonna rent it from you.
Yeah, I'm building it. They are going to rent it from me with an option to buy at the end of 10 years.
You know, I've endorsed youth sports. I have no issues with it. I just, you know, make sure that it works and it's not blindly done where you build something and then it's not as used for, it's not, I don't even know what the word I'm trying to say is, it's not conducive. So that's all. It just sounds that way, but I'm sure it's fine. So.
Yeah, and the guys are impressive. We've had a half a dozen people look at doing sports type businesses in that building. One, because in back where BioPellet used to be is very high ceilings. And Zach and Ed, when you talk to them at Vail Sports, they were just they just really had a passion and had, in my opinion, a next level business plan for the kids and the way they design their program. So I was very pleased with them, and obviously I'm willing to make the investment around them, building them the building because of the type of business that they run.
That's good.
Yeah.
So are they splitting from the soccer? Because I know they have an AAU soccer program, Vail.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're together, of course, but they're splitting the location.
Any other questions for Bill Coons regarding this proposal? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. All righty, Peter, you are up. This is a brand new one, gentlemen. This is the reuse of the former Blockbuster. Have a good night. Former Blockbuster paint store. Yep, I can definitely do that, yes. It's down. Question. The same print. My name's Peter, the former project manager for the Colville School, we're the owner and developer of that property. We built the CVS and the second building in 1998, the cement block building. That second building was approved as a bank, supposed to be American Savings. And it was approved with a drive-through that wrapped right around the building. And what we're proposing to do, two things. We want to subdivide the building so we have two tenant spaces. We have a lease commitment from Starbucks to take the front space. And they, of course, want the drive-through window because that's the way their business is going. The second thing we want to do is we own the lot behind it on Porter's Pass. And the existing Porter's Pass driveway is an easement on that property. We want to move that driveway down. It does two things for us. It gets the driveway further away from the light at Porter's Pass, Farmington Avenue. And it allows us to reorient the drive-through queue to give us a longer queues, so 14-car queue back to this window. We don't have any Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts that line up 14 cars, but I'm sure it's coming. It hasn't happened already. I do have, we've got a Starbucks in Westfield where during COVID, they backed right out on Route 20, which the state police noticed. You know, we've got Dunkin' Donuts in Coventry where he's reorienting his drive-through for the same reason he's backing out onto Main Street. So this avoids that problem completely. There's no way they can get out onto the road. They've got to stay on site. We massaged the parking lot and we're expanding parking, which we don't have now on the Porter's Pass lot. We're doing this as an easement. And that gives us the ability, you don't know how this vacant space is going to lease. It could be an insurance agent with one guy and a secretary and requirement for 3 cars. But we increased the parking out to here, which gives us potentially 75 parking spaces so that we can meet the town's requirement should that lease for approved use. And again, we don't have a tenant in the second space.
Your new driveway could also be incorporated with the property to the rear of CVS.
Yes, it could. That was part of the goal.
And then the way I understood it, it's a small strip that is a town-owned property.
Where?
Okay, I could have misunderstood this.
No.
This is all property that.
Yeah, it's all property we own.
Okay.
We're not doing anything, we're not, other than moving the Porter's Pass driveway further away from the light, we're not changing any of the other driveways or any of the other layout. Okay. What's the physical address? It's 141 and 155.
So can I just ask? So you don't own the little dental building, right? You don't own
We
that
do
one,
not.
but you own the one next to it.
Yeah, the Mary Space Street, which is now the entrance.
Yeah, okay. And that little garage back there,
We do. We have no idea what we're doing with that.
you know how many people want that?
And how many people have approached us to use it, but it's very limited. I try to do it with some.
Well, yeah. I know tons of people who have asked, worried about that. I'm like, I don't know, you gotta call the company.
And to,
On that property,
on that front, that garage.
I'm telling you, everybody I talked to wanted that. It's visible, it's back.
Automotive uses unless they're pre-existing, I don't believe are allowed, which is the biggest.
I get that.
We have a power company or a contractor for the power company who's working in Berlin approaches. And wanted to put his vehicles and his construction management office there for the duration of his contract in town. Didn't meet the requirements of the system.
Now, that could be correct, we were both these buildings contracts.
No.
No, just the.
And it's not, it's the same building. We're just gonna subdivide it.
But I mean, okay. But I agree.
The drive-through is gonna be on the Farmington Avenue side.
The drive-through exit will come out on the Farmington Avenue side.
Where's the windows? Where's the window?
The window will be right here almost. We're actually giving them a little 50-foot, square foot bump out. For the window, in order to meet their requirements both for space and elevation.
This won't interfere when people come in and out.
Well, I said I would be very surprised if the queue ever got up to 14 cars.
Yeah.
I mean, for Starbucks, if you're the 14th car in line.
You're waiting along.
Yeah, that's.
But Duncan does it, so.
Yeah. I remember seeing it.
Eyes are on.
I think we're glad to see that that building's gonna be utilized together, so it's making us down.
It was Painter's Edge for a while. He was a good time.
It's big, it's a big building, that's part of it, 4,000 square feet, is a big space for someone to take on, especially.
So rough guess, how much per square and the available.
What the leasing, well, I don't handle leasing. I do zoning of pools and construction. Yeah, that's. I don't even do construction anymore. I heard somebody.
Yeah, I can definitely find out.
Well, that's, I can make a guess.
And I think my wife.
This is gonna go to, let's see, this is going to P and Z on the November 17th.
Okay.
Looks good. They formally accept the application Thursday night and it's confirmed the date. Commissioners have to agree. So.
Yeah, I mean, you got stacking and everything. You addressed the conditions.
Yeah, the whole thing is the traffic.
And this is a planted, a heavily planted buffer.
Those little gazebo, or is the gazebo still there?
Yeah, no, gazebo's still, that's the corner lot, that's the only piece of town owns, the corner lot.
Yeah, that
was part.
CLD substation.
Okay, opens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of our projects eliminating.
Do you have enough room, sir, to do something else on the remaining land between this and what is it, Cambridge Heights, Cambridge? We should accept
To be honest
that.
with you, he's one of my heroes.
Majority of that back
Oh,
lot.
God, yes.
But where those two ponds fill, that floods. And there's nothing really perks or drains in this area. This was a clay pit. Yeah, sure. Stuff in there.
What Charlie put in there.
We excavated a lot of very interesting stuff out of there. Building that city. Yeah, right, okay. So you don't foresee something being able to be built? I do eventually, somebody will figure it out. But at this point, it's been a reach.
The crystal ball doesn't show the demand.
Yeah. But it's a nice piece, it's almost
Oh, yeah.
downtown too, you know,
Yeah.
it's right on the corner, now this is gonna ramp things up in the immediate area, so. Exactly, and the response I get in our office was, it's still for a retailer, it's still a backlog. It's like Starbucks wanted this side, they didn't want this side, they wanted to be on the market.
Could this be a little restaurant?
It could be.
I mean,
And we're providing enough parking to accommodate it if it becomes.
It's probably not gonna sell much coffee.
Not everybody likes Starbucks.
Yeah, well,
Okay, still working on my bakery, seafood, Mexican barbecue.
I haven't had something that's stopping.
Any other questions, folks?
No, that's good.
We would like a favorable recommendation.
Very
The economic development.
Points, Peter, we're gonna be picking that up in a couple of minutes, and I appreciate you Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks. Yes, thank you. Mr. Snow, if you would like to say a couple words, if you would like. We do have at the end of our planning and zoning portion, so if you want to talk briefly about the project, the text amendment, et cetera, kind of explain. Sure.
I was involved in the project, it's supposed to be named the bungalows, it was 1676 Berlin Turnpike, it's an old motel. When the first project came onto the market, I met with Chris and we had said, what were some of the options about what can we do with this space? It's an old motel, it's run down, what are some of the options? We came up with, the possibility of doing residential in that area. When I went through the expense and the time and put a text amendment regulation together that we thought would not just fit this property, but all the motels along the Berlin Turnpike. Because as I read and I heard from other people, and I live in Weathersfield, so not far, we have the same thing. The motels are not a popular thing in towns. There's nothing good that happens in those that towns look like. There was one way to be able to incentivize the developer to come and do that. So I worked with the town, we got the regulation approved and went in for planning and zoning on the project at 1676 Berlin Turnpike. Some of the neighbors who we didn't foresee had come out and actually were against. Some of their questions were setbacks and other items. I believe in that time period I addressed with them. Like with any compromise, and I talked to everyone, no one's ever happy. They had a motel there. I thought they'd be happy with apartments of long-term professionals and people be there, but they didn't seem to buy that logic. So they were concerned about some of the distances to their property line. In my proposal, now we have increased to a point close to what they say, within 4 to 5 feet of what they say. Originally, we had proposed to be 15 feet off of that. We're now 45 from their property line. So I believe the current project is a lot more to their liking. Nothing will be ever 100% to their liking, but I believe that we've met a lot of their concerns. So that's what I'm looking for. That's kind of the brief history of where it wasn't just here, and also by doing that, taking the financial obligation to come and get the regulations and the text amendment. I've also purchased other motels that I'm currently involved with, not running, but they're open, that I'd like to close and do something similar. Now with the moratorium in town, I'll have to wait, and hopefully with this whole re-regulation that won't affect this too detrimental to them. I'm happy to share the newer purpose. I don't know if you want that or they want to get a quick idea.
I got a question. Have you already been through planning and zoning with this?
We haven't been through.
Yeah.
We started the process, public hearing, and it's gotten the neighbors' comments. So we have an open application currently on the first project, 1676 Berlin Turnpike I spoke about. The second project that I purchased is still out. We didn't make it before the moratorium, so that's just sitting right now and waiting. I mean, I have the plans done according to the text amendment regulation, but I don't know what's going to happen between now and February.
When you're ready, I ask questions.
I'm ready.
I'd love to see that.
Oh, see the person. Orienting, this is the Berlin Turnpike. This is there's currently 3 curb cuts. We're just proposing to have 1. So we come in, these are all duplex homes, exterior, center, it's the community center, we'll rent our leasing office. A total of 18 homes. Prior to this application, these structures were along the back property line, closer to here, now pushed back.
So what do you have there for a buffer?
What does that say?
45 feet?
45 feet.
And then you're gonna do double plantings here?
Well, what we're doing is these are remaining, we're not taking anything
Okay,
down.
okay,
Putting
they're
up a-
existing now.
Yep, they're existing. We're putting a 6-foot stockade fence along the back and along this property line as well.
Okay.
And then we are gonna have plantings inside our benefit the tenants, but we're keeping this buffer, this tree line. Okay. That, which was also one of the neighbors' concern, if we were this close, what would happen to those tree lines, disturbing the roots, et cetera. So we try to pull as far back as we could to, keep.
You never had really any intentions of having an emergency exit
No,
on that road.
their concern, which I thought was unrealistic, was they were concerned people were gonna live in the apartments, walk through the woods, play in their cul-de-sac, and then go back home. That's not the type of tenant that we have, that's not the type of tenant that we attract, but that was what was voiced at a public meeting.
What actually type of apartments are they?
They're two bedroom, 2 bath, 1,000 square foot with a 1-car garage, apartment.
Would it be similar, something like you see down the end of where Silver Lake is on the turnpike?
Yes,
There's 2 units per structure.
yes, correct. It's 2 families per structure. So 2 units per structure.
I can't see that, but there was the one thing I remember when we looked at the first one, was you had like a shed or some kind of structure that was like 5 feet off or something.
That was existing. Took that down.
Okay.
Those are all.
So that wasn't in the regs, your proposed regs, the sheds could be 5 feet from the property line?
That, not in my.
Okay.
No. That is in the town
We're
regulation.
going by how this was presented to us. And I'll say it in a twisted manner, okay? Very vintage, okay?
Yeah.
It burns my butt to no end, that they're even attempting to use that language with the hotels, I'm sorry, motels that are out there.
Right.
Okay, now, people do get excited, okay, and we respect the fact that people get scared because they don't know what's going on. But when we see, or I see, I won't speak to you guys, we see them overdoing things, okay? And then trying to create havoc for developers. It's just a thing that should not happen, all right? I'm glad you address things, okay? I'm getting a little emotional with this because this has happened in this town numerous times. All right, so we're kind of straightening things out. They're addressing here, this is a BT1 zone.
Correct.
Not a BT2.
It's not.
Okay. Just for the fact that a gas station could be put in that same zone.
Correct.
Okay, that is open 24 hours a day. They're not taking that into consideration.
Or trailer park, or those other options to go there that I believe we've taken better use of.
Yeah, okay, so it's not the fact that you're creating a buffer. Okay, you address the idea of what exactly that zone is. Again, I think the main thing of working with the property owner is the main goal of this, okay, because you're not really looking to change their neighborhood. You're talking about your units being 30 feet high, is that correct?
Actually, for 20, under 30. A 2-story.
Okay, so that's a basically,
It's your house.
that's basically a 2-story house.
Correct.
Okay, no different height of many of these other houses that are on that street.
Correct.
They higher than where the hotel used to be. Thanks.
Well, it depends on which one. The old motel had a tall building in front here, and the back, they were just 1 story, so they are an additional story from where it was as a motel. And to their point, they are.
Below.
Yeah, they're 10 feet lower, right?
Bit on that second story.
But now that we keep this, we keep the existing tree and a 6-foot fence, if they look up, they're barely gonna see the roof, and they'd have to be staring up into it.
Now, did you have to reduce the number of units because you brought it to the center of the
Yes,
property?
yes, the zone allows for 20 units and we're down to 18. Yeah, in the center, they want to because.
And you have met with this neighbor.
How could you not? No, it's not a meeting, it's a.
Sorry to repeat myself, but I'm glad you're addressing the issues.
No, then just this and also the car person next door, he requested 25 feet, so 29. So I try to meet with all the neighbors and to be reasonable and try to get something like I started with. I'm never gonna make everybody happy, try to make them as unhappy or as little as unhappy as possible.
The waterway that's here,
Yes,
now, is that considered a wetland? Because it's basically drainage off the road.
it is considered a wetland. You just see my gray area, this really up. Have that, did get our wetlands. There was some complaints on flooding in the back on there, but this is a state of Connecticut drainage right away that we can't control. All I can say is after this property is built, the drainage will be less than it is currently.
But that's piped underground,
This is open.
oh, that's open, yeah. What about this one? That's open as well.
See this, one. Anything off of here, there's a 15-foot drainage right away, we have to all open.
So did you have to create any retention areas?
We've got an underground.
Yeah.
So I remember when they came in, first started talking about this concept. Some of the neighbors, one of the concerns they had, they were concerned that somebody in the cul-de-sac, if they would change ownership. And so you guys right away give them an option to get in and out of their neighborhood. I don't know how that
I don't
plays
think
out, but if that's not something you guys are thinking about doing, you might want to put that rumor to bed.
We did, I believe you did, we've shown the plan, we've been there, and, but like I said, I think part of that was their tactic to say, try to scare and say, hey, this is what's gonna happen. Ruin our cul-de-sac or lose our privacy, but that was never on any plan that I had.
Now, in comparison to what was there, as far as the number of units that were there, people, how do you compare that?
We're a little bit more, but, and I don't know how to compare motel. Motels are there for 4 days, they're in and they're out. But as far as the number of units, I think there were 15.
Those were
The little bungalow.
yeah, how big were those?
So there was like 600 square feet,
There was only 8.
but then there was 2 in the front.
Yeah, there's 2 in the front, the 2 family, brick
Yeah.
2 family, there's 8 little brick cabins in the back.
Okay.
I know.
So these are
And then there was
annual,
the,
annual leases.
Yes, correct. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay, that's okay, I just
No, I
want to
understand.
clarify. There's 8 little cabins, and they're small, and the group are small, and most of them were vacant for a number of years before. Fellow passed
Like the
away,
squatters.
and so. I guess I have the neighbors, I guess maybe behind, seeing this new design.
We were at the last planning zone meeting, we told them it was coming, but they have not, I just got this from the engineer today. So we had to do a resubmission of the plan because there was some nomenclature that was incorrect, they had referenced a separate property. So we did that and also so they have not seen this plan unless they've been down to see Maureen yet, I don't know.
So what are the big changes between your original plan and this?
There is setback in the back, it's a big change. The fence along the property line is a big change. And the number of units. Yeah, and then the open space in the middle. was a big change.
And was the height on your prior plan taller than these units?
It was, we were doing.
Because I recollect that all the Holly Court people were saying it was higher than these 2 stories.
Well, that was a little bit of an exaggeration.
Okay, well, then just clear it for us.
But yeah, but
They were saying it was 30 feet.
Okay, but I just want him to tell us what it was.
yes, yeah, it probably was 28, so I mean, the 31, we have lowered it to make sure that the pitches are not, that's probably 26 to the peak, but before we had the peak, we were facing, like the gables facing the back. So it would appear larger, now the gables to the side, so you're seeing a slope on it. So that was so best.
So the neighbors haven't seen this, they may really like what you're doing now, who knows?
Well, just having those units that along the back shows that they're not going to ever have any right away to Holly Court.
Right, but we've always shown them, but again, sometimes you just don't see.
How many, so what do you get, 2 parking spots per?
You have a garage, every unit has a garage.
Yeah.
And there's a spot in the front.
Yeah.
We've got part of the long, the extra 10 part of the district's along the side.
So you manage, you will be managing this,
Yes, it was. I mean, so this commission, I own another project over on Main Street, East Berlin, that's 20 units, similar size.
Oh, really?
Where your factory was.
Right, we did a lot of environmental work on that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna-
So just type, the map you have basically lists, shows all the different hotels, and the reason you have that is the neighbors have asked that the language be removed for this type of development. I don't know when that will be heard, but they would like you to get rid of it. So you kind of just have the map to see if that happened. But this is a possibility of redevelopment of all these, if it stays in place, if it goes away, then it stays in place.
Well, what type of age group would be attracted to this type of house?
Probably be younger professionals or potentially retired I don't want to say retired, doesn't necessarily mean retired, but someone who sold a bigger house doesn't quite know, are going to move or going to stay, downsize, something. Those are the kind of two ends that I get, over on East Main Street, very similar, younger, or someone probably my age that says, hey, I'm looking to, I sold my house, my kids are still here in Berlin, I'll be here for another 5 years, I want something nice, let's go.
What is the probability of children being here?
You can't discriminate,
No, I understand.
but again, I'll use my other example on the 20
Well,
years.
I'm asking you the question because we already know our studies.
As an example from real experience, on the 20 units I have one child in there under the age of 5. They're probably, once they usually hit the kindergarten or first grade, they're usually someone else. That's my experience.
What are the square footage on those?
They're under 1,000, from 800 to 900.
Oh, so it's similar.
They're little houses too, so I mean, they are,
We have
okay, so I'm Barbara Wade, I moved here, I live in Berlin, I live in Edgewater, so I think one of you guys referenced that, the townhouses down there, the Edgewater Circle. And I've lived in Saratoga, I've lived in Westchester, all over, and I came to Berlin, my daughter was attracted to the gymnastics down in Wallingford, Connecticut, so we came down and I looked everywhere, Raphael, Berlin was like the coolest place, I love the Silver Lake there, so I came here and nowhere to rent. Couldn't find a thing. I was looking in, $3,000 price range, $2,500 price range, couldn't find anything to rent. Found Edgewater, luckily got in with, Joe for the 1 3-bedroom there. And the idea of not being in a huge apartment complex, because that was, what some of the other options I had when I was looking at other towns, where you're floored, like you're 5 floors with buildings on both sides, and this idea of these are little houses, which is like the coolest thing you guys could possibly even be like on, like, what's the, all those big shows, because that's what they want is small economic houses that are your own, one side on the other side there, and they're tiny homes. I actually think that it could be such a unique plan for Berlin. And looking at all of the motels, that's one thing, honest to God, I look down the turnpike driving, my daughter's a junior in high school now, and I'm like, this is like the creepiest place. It's all these old hotels. And if you're not gonna zone it, what are you gonna put there? You're gonna put more motels up, or you're gonna put up trailer parks? Like, I think that it's a really cool idea to put these little homes in it. And I think we'll bring that value to the town. Sure. Anyway, so that was my little suggestion.
You have 7 of them south of Route 9, which is even more challenging because the zoning is challenging on some of them, plus the fact that they're.
Yeah, these are all market rate.
Well, no, there's 4, this is part of the town plan, which makes 4 of the units affordable. But just having said that, the state of Connecticut with affordable doesn't mean, when you say affordable, people get nervous with Section 8, these price range will not qualify for Section 8 housing at all, but you do meet with this income of a teacher, of a police officer, those are the types of people to be attracted. Just to clarify, so I hate to just say it's an affordable housing, people get all crazy, that's not.
And that was the newer 20% of all developments are going to be affordable. So we can, once we hit 10%, we don't drop below. We're like,
Someone making $70,000, $50,000, you're still qualifies for that.
60% of each guy, someone like 6,000. So I think that 50, 60,000.
And then yes, that's someone that you can use 80%. Well, right.
you're talking about dental tech, first job out of college. You're talking about stuff there. And on the other side, the empty nester piece, which I think is going to be huge, because the fact that people want to come in and buy houses and there are no houses. Which we're seeing start moving.
10 of the people in Joe's units are all that, on all sides. They sold their house, they have their money, they don't know where they want to go, so they're all rental.
Awesome. You guys have any other questions?
Yes, prior from you mentioned that you are buying another hotel.
Yes.
Want to talk about that?
Sure. Go right down the street, going traveling south on the right hand side. So it's 1943. 1906.
1906. Oh, it's the one in the hole, right?
Yes, the one in the hole.
Yeah, the one with no sign on it.
So no, I mean, I already own it, so it's I don't want to run it as a motel anymore. Just wait. I was hoping to already be out of that, but now I have to put up with the.
How big is that piece?
There's actually, well, there's 3 pieces that are all kind of running as motels. A vacant lot next door, there's 2 houses
Oh, yeah.
next door to that. So right now it's all part running as the motel. So we're proposing something like this stage 26 units similar to what this is.
Big industrial peak at the back.
Right, which we've left room for, from an economic development perspective, a right away for them to come in and out at that traffic light. If that ever does get developed.
Are they gonna buy these? Are they gonna buy these or you're gonna rent them?
I'm gonna rent them, so it's all that.
So that could be another potential area that's being cleaned up.
Correct.
And then the fact that interest rates going through the roof. Yeah. Mortgages, home price is gonna come the other way, people may not be a little bit more hesitant to buy, so we have rental options.
Well, I think my product in the town is beneficial to what's out there, as Barbara was saying, there's a lot of units that are high rise, you walk down a long hallway. This is your own private entrance, you walk from your garage into your unit, that's unique in a rental situation, it really is.
The one thing I like about this too is the fact that apartments are where jobs go to sleep. We got a lot of companies looking to hire right now. This is gonna be the housing and hopefully will help each of these employers to grow. That conversation with Kevin Bud, is pretty simple. I have no people, I'm not building another $60 Benson. His plan is to build a brand new building, but if he has no people, he's not building a building. And he's just the first person I talked
It's not a Berlin problem.
No, it is not. No, it is not. It's a Connecticut problem, but I think that the fact of the matter is that bringing in the people, I think, will be helpful because it will hopefully expand again. My thoughts are, especially with it's all Berlin effort, is okay. You live here, you work here, by extension, you can spend money here. That was very true during COVID. I think these 300+ apartments, I think, will continue.
What would be market rate?
$2,000.
What's your thought?
They pay their own utilities, everything is set all separate meters. And we are going with the Eversource program of the electric home, so it'll be all electric, which will be very efficient. For the rebates, etc. Now with the new code, it's R60 installation for ceilings, R35, and all of your exterior walls. It's all electric, very cool. Which has been, again, on my other project, the bills have been under $100 a month. That's an average for every. So it's if you build them efficiently, use current heat pumps, the electric is not something we have to stop. Any other questions?
Okay, this zone is identified as XIPZ.
Yeah, infill residential development.
And that's one we would not like to get changed.
Yeah.
Or removed, I guess they're asking.
Yeah, who is the neighbors in the back that put in a request to get rid of the entire regulation?
What do you expect this property would be?
But if they like to approve it, have they changed their mind?
I have not talked to any of the neighbors since they came in to talk to us that night, so I don't know where they stand. I mean, I know that Mr. Snow has made numerous changes to try to accommodate their concerns. I think great concept. I think the fact that it needed to be looked at further, which is what Pat has done, which I think it fits. I don't think commercial development of the type that people would love to see there is going to happen. That's the problem. There's just not a lot of activity south of Route 9 right now with what the zoning currently is, unless, of course, yeah, we could probably do used cars or something else. We have too much of that already. And it is a challenge too, because it's not a big site. And you can see that it deepens out. It's not like it's a really big, wide open site from a frontage site.
They may see your new design, buy into it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
And they may withdraw that proposal, but you don't know.
Oh, you'll see.
Yeah, but that's what this commission would recommend them not doing that or not look at it, but some people who have been there forever, they just don't want anything there. And unfortunately, what I did is a little bit of a mistake. I took everything down first, so now they're happy as can be. There's nothing there, so that's, they don't see any dilapidated building. They don't see the vagrants coming in and out or any other stuff anymore.
Do you have a meeting coordinated with them? Yeah.
No, we just did this today. I probably won't see them until Thursday night. They're sometimes hard to get together, but I usually come early if they're there. And I did meet with their neighbor, you see part of the John, yeah. So he's got this plan as well. I'm assuming he'll get it to them we'll have some discussion on Thursday.
Why you were in front of planning and zoning on Thursday?
Yes.
It would have been nice to meet with that neighborhood before. I think.
It's worth a try.
Okay.
Sometimes it's hard to, and I don't like to meet with just one person, because then what happens, they try that once, and they say, why do you favor her, not me? And so it's a little bit of a coordination effort.
Yeah, I think what you have here will satisfy that.
Yeah.
But we don't want to go into planning and zoning with this neighborhood coming up with language like this.
Right.
You know, I mean, this is the worst thing that could ever happen, you know? They should be quite happy that that's in their backyards, because they bought next to commercial property. Just a little history of the majority of that neighborhood, it was a modular home supposed to be. And when they wanted to build them back then, they were the only place that was ever done was there. And it was quite different. And people said, wait a second. All right. But they were open-minded enough to say, this work, once it's done, it's going to look like a regular ranch.
Right.
So what happened to them? They could have had a neighborhood that was not built there. But meet with them.
Okay. Great. Any-
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Do you want to leave then, or?
Yeah, why don't you take it with
You guys, I guess the purpose would be you make a recommendation at some point, not for the specific project. I don't think it's
Well, the meeting held next Thursday. I mean, they're gonna make a decision on Wednesday, and the neighbors are everything. And they're people, I don't see them saying, this is great. But I mean, so if there's anyone that can come next week and talk in support of the development, I think the decision, they're gonna make a decision. You have been in front of them 4 times. They're gonna make a decision Thursday.
They're still here with their emotions. Okay, and that's what they're gonna drive. They need that to be put in front of them. Okay, I can't stress that enough. To show that that is something that is good for their neighborhood. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, love to get for coffee.
Oh, good, okay.
Chat with you, so some ideas on different things.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, so, minutes of September meeting.
In your package, folks, the minutes are there. You haven't taken it. Here and. Look for a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, yeah. I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Sister makes the motion. Go for seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
We used to have someone take minutes. But now you have to do it. Is that correct? And are we going to have somebody come back and take minutes, or that's been,
No idea. I've left numerous voicemails. I don't know if she's still alive. So at this point, I don't know.
okay, so.
That's my.
Well,
Are they what? They are a school teacher. Kristen, and yeah, I've heard nothing. I've tried, I mean, the last connection I had with her was in May from the April minutes.
But is she getting paid?
No.
oh, is there someone else who can take minutes? Because we've had all different types of people come over the years, take minutes. We should have somebody here taking minutes. Shouldn't be Chris's job to take minutes.
I don't know.
So what do? Do we make a motion?
No, let me,
That
I'll
we
just,
want the town manager to get us somebody to take minutes?
no, that's fine. Let me look into it and kind of find out, because if she's not gonna do it and not gonna respond, then we'll find somebody. It's fine. You just do that.
Yeah, we should have someone here, you know, it's not.
Because it paid us. Some dollars.
So take a position.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's. $25, 10 minutes, it's pretty good deal. Like,
Yeah, but if that's the case, you're doing the minutes, you should get paid $125.
Trust me, I don't just say that, and it would be nice. It allowed me to take my ever expanding family out to dinner somewhere.
Okay, folks, so we're on to item 4 here, planning and zoning. So, we've had a lot of discussion, but you wanna. How do you wanna handle this? What do you wanna do?
If you want to go point by point, and if you'd like to make a recommendation, that would be terrific. I know Thursday night. Let's see, Thursday night, 4 Rod Road's going to be on. Thursday night. They're probably going to talk about the last one, the planning residential infill, and then the other ones kind of as we go. I mean, the 17th for Colvest, which was the Starbucks, CCRC, they're going to have their submission in probably next week. So they're all coming up pretty quickly, and then it looks like 11/3 is when they're going to get the greenhouses again. So we're not going to meet before most of this happens. So if we can get some kind of inclination.
Okay, so this is gonna take some time, because there's a lot of action here. So I guess we can start, are you folks all right to go into 4 now, or you wanna kill some of the other stuff on the agenda and go back?
No, let's just bang
Okay,
them
all
out.
right, let's bang them out. So CCARC is the first one. Let's talk about it.
If there's no houses directly right around that property.
There's one just to the south.
Give me 30 seconds. Let me-
Oh, there's one to the north, yeah, but I think he's further back.
What would your concern be for the house?
No, it was just farther back. It's a big piece of property anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Nice about that.
it's not really gonna be an issue. I just wanna know. how close they were. It's nice.
Yeah, so here's the 2 adjacent ones. There is quite a bit of existing buffer, I believe, between the properties and the houses next door. Give me a second, let me grab the aerial view here.
Okay, so the one, that's the whole, the gray area is the property, right?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yes, you got existing trees both on the northern side and the southern side.
Have the budding property owners been notified?
No, because there's no formal application in yet. They will be as soon as the application, the special permit.
Yeah.
Those houses are far enough away, they're not gonna be affected.
No, and it's gonna be basically during the regular business hours too, so it's not like they're gonna be doing late night stuff.
Does this property, doesn't this property attach up to Bicentennial?
It does. Bicentennial is back here.
Hold back.
So here's just a question.
Yes.
I don't have a problem helping the kids and all that stuff.
Yep.
please. Is it worth something where the town picks that off? Because we have an issue with people parking and getting access to Bicentennial Park.
We're actually gonna have a discussion with them. I had a map put together. Let me see if I can find the map, because I was talking to Mr. Mahoney, who's kind of our open space guy. And so what we were looking at was, here you go. So here was the concept. So we'll get this smaller down here. So here would the concept be, which is 2 possible easement locations. So what we would be looking at is, again, going back to Bicentennial, because there's currently, if you look on the bottom one here. Sorry, blow this up here for a second.
I mean, my thought is just what are we giving up around? We're not getting anything now, as a church, we're not gonna get anything less. Right.
Yeah.
So for the little bit of revenue that we're bringing in, is there a better opportunity for the town to have it?
I mean, it's under contract right now. I mean, I don't know how we would even do that. And I don't know whether or not.
Can the town get a right of way to possibly put another small parking lot?
Yeah, these are the red is the easements we're looking at.
Oh, okay.
So we took an easement on the top of the property, the bottom of the property. Essentially what you would do is, the idea would be is you would find a way to allow people to park here and then walk directly into Centennial Park from there. That would be the idea from the concept. We haven't gone forward with them yet, but you can see here essentially a new path would be created to meet up.
Carry in perpetuity, or if they left.
No, the easement would be on the land record in perpetuity. So, and they're open to have that discussion. We've not had it yet. Because again, they don't have a formal application in, but I think they're more than willing to talk about it. And
CCRC.
Yeah, CCRC. That's nice, yeah.
Good news. Yeah. I'll make a motion that we approve the application for CCAR and C, Chamberlain Highway. Approve.
Support.
Support, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're.
No. It's cool.
So
We athletically support this.
so they don't have an application yet to P and Z.
No, we talked Thursday morning, we went through all the information, but basically the big issue right now is the parking and the handicapped accessibility. So they need to have an A2 survey put together showing the handicapped accessibility, where the ramp is, et cetera, which the guys out of Newbury are doing right now, can't remember the name right now. Architectural engineering firm over on Slater Road. So that's really why they're waiting for that to come in. But
They have a ramp from the back park.
no, it would be a ramp from the circle directly
Oh,
up
to the
to.
church.
Yeah, because of, so that's what they're working on right now. My guess is probably early next week, they'll have the application in. And then they'll set the meeting for sometime in November or like early December at the latest. But yeah, they're basically under contract right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with supporting the use, and like I said, I did a little research. And that group, the transition group supports this, so.
I think it's good use for the bill. The property.
Yeah, it's not like Starbucks in there, so.
The other thing is the zone allows.
It does.
So they don't need us for anything other than, they don't need us.
No, they're just looking for the support. That's all it really is, because the Planning and Zoning Commission has had quite a few changes to the makeup. And accordingly, they would like to hear from this commission, especially on issues like this.
Can we put something in that says basically, the concept is interesting and appealing to the Economic Development Commission, and as long as it meets regulations, planning and zoning. We wouldn't have a problem.
It's similar to isn't it similar to the one or the project that went into Morley School? Kind of.
It's similar, not the same, but similar.
That was a school. So we're still doing it. Everyone's used to being in school. This was a church.
Okay, so.
Leesburg is in, and we'll let it.
It's a motion. He made his motion. Bob, it sounded like seconded it.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Okay. We're on to Colvest here, folks. We can talk about it, roll it around and see if we want to. Mr. Peter LaPointe indicated, like, if possible, our support. We said that before.
The only negative I see is we already have like 3 or 4 coffee shops in town.
Yeah, we have
And that's a national chain that's got deep pockets that can outlast all the mom-and-pop coffee shops.
It's all within walking distance.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, and
You got the one on Main Street.
Yep.
The center, you got the one over the T-Bag building.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then you have Dunkin', and then you're gonna have
Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Yep.
Wow, this is our new used Starbucks.
And they all got cars in front of them every morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good point. When people want Starbucks, they'll drive to Millington. I think, and if you want a Dunkin' Donuts coffee, or if you want the gas station coffee, I think everybody has their own.
Don't take your word for it, never had.
Yeah,
You better for it.
I would get one
You know, yeah.
for my wife before out in the ozone riding around. Otherwise, I would do it at home.
Second mortgage.
Zoning allows this.
Yes, it is.
The use is allowed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if we say yay or nay, they don't, that's just.
So we really can't, you can't look at the company itself. You gotta look at the use.
Yeah.
It's a reuse of the building. It's out there for a very long time, and they're gonna have.
Part of the
they're
reason
gonna
we
be-
sat there was they were absorbing the amount of rents that they wanted. We tried to put stuff in there for years, and they went back.
I mean, they're gonna have to put a huge investment into this building for Starbucks.
But you know what, other companies look at where Starbucks
Oh, yeah.
locates.
Yeah,
That's could bring another restaurant.
Actually, electric car dealers.
Say, I can see a small, I can see a small medical walk.
Didn't they want to come into dealership?
All the patients from the caffeine.
I think
Starbucks next door.
That's right, yeah, it is.
I think a little restaurant would be perfect.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I agree.
So
With a good deli.
Little bakery?
Yeah.
Deli.
Really good deli.
Deli?
Yes.
Yes,
Kind of deli.
yes.
That's gonna be huge.
It's like good roast beef, I mean, corned beef.
So we can support, we cannot support, or we can table.
No, I can go talk to Cass. I finally went there this summer. It's good stuff.
I would totally support this project. Having a Starbucks, first of all, they're gonna invest a ton of money. They got deeper pockets than the town itself told us. They're gonna redo it. I'm sure they'll make it nice.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think that's the issue. What's the impact gonna be for the other ones that we support?
I don't think it's gonna, because believe it or not, Ed's 100% on with
yes.
people going to Newington to get their Starbucks. And
I think we might lose one car. I think it's a different client, busy.
Well,
He's invested a lot of time and money in Britain, but his overhead is also very small.
but he's closed a lot in Berlin now.
He is.
He does, he's already,
He would be the one that I think would be most effective. Yeah, he'd be the one that would be most effective in my.
He doesn't
Right.
have a good follow, Chris. Seems like there's cars there all the time.
He does, but I think part of it is he's shrunk the menu, he's shrunk the hours, and it's more challenging at this point. Plus,
Help do
I
it.
mean, help, I mean, Provision State, it's big, it's bright, it's open. I mean, I was there today for a meeting and there was 2 different people on their laptops, so.
This is the one in Brittany?
No, in the Tyvek, though.
Oh, the Tyvek.
Yeah, I mean, the one in Britain, yeah, he's made a major investment in Britain.
another one that's open up, third one? That first.
Not right this second, no,
It's just those two.
it's those 2.
Okay.
No, okay. I've already let,
You know what it is still? The guy that owns that building now is a real estate agent. I think he wants that space. I mean, insurance agent.
which building?
Star Barber Shop. Bought it from the monk. I mean,
Barnes, Barnes owns that, I thought.
No, he was looking to buy it, but the number was too much.
Oh, somebody bought it from the Mungano?
Yeah, it was,
Settlement.
settling,
Right.
settling.
Okay, so I guess Bob's indicating that.
It's,
I'm not gonna do
I
anything
think it'd be
against it.
great,
Yep.
it would, how do I put this? We've been chastised as a town because we didn't let Starbucks in. Well, we all know the truth, we had nothing to do with not letting them in. Right? Maybe just quiet down.
people still bring that issue up.
Oh, it's surprising.
Oh, I tell the moment you don't see, oh, you didn't want Starbucks.
Someone thought it looked like Starbucks colors.
Okay, so we got a motion somewhere.
second.
No, wait, no, I asked.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes, I would propose to endorse the project based on what we've seen. And hopefully they can fill that second space.
Second, somewhere.
Like
Mr.
second that
Foster.
motion.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Okay, 4 on road 500. Mr. Bill Coons, Thursday on the agenda, right, Chris for P and Z. So what do we want to do? We can support, not support, or table, do nothing.
My question is this with that project. I'm not against it, but I just don't know. Bob brings up a good point as far as the overlapping games. You know, grandma and grandpa come, there's gonna be a lot of people there at those games. I mean, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if they're gonna have enough parking spots.
Well, I mean, the existing building probably has at least 70 to 80 parking spots along the building. And the hours, to a large degree, the hours are not gonna overlap. There may be a couple hours. But I think the overlap can probably go right onto the adjacent property. Again, that would have to be 30 feet away from.
Cause they're again going to these sporting things over the years with the kids. You go to that place up in FSA, Farmington, and there's such an overlap that the cars are parked on both sides. That
Same thing, that Bethany, my state police barracks over there. So,
I don't think the parking's gonna be as big a deal, like he said, because the weekend's gonna be when it's back.
well, as long as they have that overflow.
I just, whatever, I don't know enough about building, I'm not gonna say anything, it just like, seems like they're trying to jam it. towards- But
That's,
if it works, it works, right, you've got Vail,
Is there any traffic issue when you're coming from the south and you come up Crescent Hill and then you got 10 cars backed up trying to get it? I'm just thinking a little bit back. Well, when you get up top of the hill,
Well, it's gonna be if they're all showing up on our road.
just interested about that. You know, what I mean? Because with the sight line, that hill's sort of tricky. You get to the top of it and bang, you're, 10 cars are back right up to the top of the hill.
yeah, but I don't think there's gonna be like they have to wait to pull in or
I
anything.
don't know.
If you know that piece of property to the north of the main building, extensive amount of parking. And what we should be concerned about is when you have an excessive amount of cars with no parking, that they would park on the street. That's never gonna happen on that hill, because it would be too far away from the complex. Alright, so basically, the existing building that's there and the parking, like he once explained, that basically when the basketball facility gets busy, those people already went home from work at the other large building. So I think that it's gonna be a flow thing, okay? If people get stuck parking cars away, they'll still be parking in a safe area. Did it go?
Nope.
So you folks don't see, I'm just talking about traffic on Ford Rock when they're queuing up to get in.
Yeah, I don't see, I don't have a problem with the traffic and
Okay,
if everybody visits the building.
Yeah.
all right. Okay, so we don't seem to have any opposition, so we'll look. Folks,
oh, I would like to make a motion that we support this project for 504 Rock Road.
okay, second somewhere. Mr. Sisti, second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Okay, folks, Chamberlain Highway Agricultural Project. Time to talk. Unfortunately, we only saw this project for, I think, the first time last meeting. Right, we never saw this before. And it sort of went through planning and zoning a while ago. And everyone's coming around. So we have to talk about it and we have a Susan on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I'd like to talk about it.
let's talk about this.
It scares me a little bit because of the size of it. And unfortunately, we've had a similar project literally 2 lots down to the south.
Okay.
Greenhouses, and that's in,
That's in a hole. Look at the eyesore that is, and
And
that's not even gonna be near the.
and that's in total disrepair. So as far as like covering a nice piece of agricultural property with stone, like the last project that was done, and then putting these greenhouses up. It's a huge changing environment for our neighbors next door, Mr. Fontanella and Mr. Solik behind us.
All of us.
Oh, him,
And you too.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
he's right.
So right there too.
So they say, we're his house.
We're told open. By the assessors,
I mean, is that not?
everybody in that neighborhood, in that area. For the same size home somewhere else in town would pay less in property taxes. Because we live in a very, very, very nice area of town.
Okay.
That's going to change.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna just pose this to us. Where's the benefits Berlin? All right, we have, if not the best, one of the best. Welcome mats coming into central Connecticut on the Chamberlain Highway when we come over that hill. It's a beautiful vista. That's gone. Right, the houses that they're paying extra money down there, trying to arguably they'll go to the town and say, we want a discount because you're not gonna be able to argue, you have a nice neighborhood. So we're gonna lose potentially on the grant list. They're gonna be PA 490, they're not gonna give us any revenue. It's gonna be a huge eyesore. They're gonna be drawn off the water. And if our reservoir really dropped 18 feet on 5 inches less rain, we have made it up.
It doesn't affect us.
I don't see, well, it affects my brook. So I don't see a win here at all for the town. But honestly, I don't even know how I got this far.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm next door, obviously, and I came into this meeting with an open mind, listening to what they had to say, and it changed, I made a decision, it changed my mind a little bit as to what I heard the project was gonna be and the size of it and so forth.
I mean, look, you can
It's a
see on the
little-
map, you can see
I
it.
think if we really wanna take a drive-by, go down through Cheshire and see those greenhouses there and take a look at that, and that's what you're gonna see on Chamberlain Highway.
I mean, the one at Guilford is 2 acres, is 4.5 times the size, just one building.
Yeah, believe it or not,
20 by
it's-
800 by 30.
It's tucked away, you don't even see it.
No, you're not
It's a
gonna
whole-
see it.
It's a whole different project.
Hey, it's 2 acres.
Can you folks explain to me how 490 works and how much
DOT.
revenue the town,
They don't get anything.
they get nothing.
They get 2 acres of building lot at my house. That's it. All the other buildings and everything are exempted as farm.
Here you go. So just look at a property down the street here. So this is.
They have to farm
This is,
that for
this,
10
this is,
10
this is,
years.
this is the farm right here that's a little further down. So it is 9.82 acres. It is valued, assessed at. Come on, Chris. This may be the Rooster one, I'm not sure. So it's assessed at, or appraised at 160,000. They're being taxed at 6,800.
Okay, I get it.
We really, really, really want to stir up this hornet's nest for no money.
The zone is what current?
DOD.
DOD, signed off as
It's a
itself.
screwed up zone.
Okay, I understand.
It's a very screwed up zone.
It's planned office development.
Yeah, POD, and the only use that's currently in there is agriculture.
To put up an office building there, according to zoning regulations, you have to have town water and town.
We don't have that.
Okay, all right.
There's no benefit for
Who owns it?
Any pressure.
That should have been bought for playing fields by the town. Okay, the town is not thinking for the dollar figure of what that sold for originally. Right? But if it's zoned for agriculture. The sad part is, you're gonna have a difficult time stopping this.
Well, it's really zoned POD with an agricultural clause to it.
Agricultural can happen anywhere.
To a certain extent, and they get they have to do this for 10 acres in order, or 10 years in order to get their agricultural exemption. Otherwise, if they stop in 5 years, they have to repay the taxes then.
Right, but you gotta,
Well, listen, they're gonna keep it going. It's gonna be a cash cow. They're the only ones that are gonna pay off. Still not us.
you gotta admit that when we originally think agriculture, of you think tomato plants in the ground.
Well, when they
Now-
wrote that, they didn't think hydroponics.
No,
They were thinking cattle, horses,
Yeah.
crops,
yes,
things of that nature, which is what makes that welcome mat. And those properties around it worth what they're worth.
but this is now under the umbrella. So it's very difficult, so I don't think anybody's really pleased about this. You know,
So I guess the question is, I have 2 questions. What's the benefit for us? Tell me what the benefit is.
Economic, as an economic development,
Yeah, that's
measure, what do we get out?
Yeah, what do we get out?
you get no tax dollars.
No tax dollars, very little.
Yeah.
You get a blight on one of the best vistas we have in town.
No, I'm just
You know,
talking
maybe-
benefit. I'm gonna go to her next. Tell me what the benefit is. I'm just asking.
Jobs,
Yeah, 20 jobs.
which you know, is exaggerated.
Why is somebody putting up a 26,000 square foot building?
The benefit,
Anybody.
that's the other thing I could
All right,
think
so there's the benefit. Now talk to me about the hurt. I want to know about the hurt. First of all, property values can be affected. I don't care what anybody says. Anybody who has a house in the area.
Further scale, Dave. One, the first building is 1,200 feet.
I can't see how long it's going. You know, I remember, who's the guy that, not Dean Martino, the guy that built next to Irving on the Turnpike, the package store, what was his name? Mr. Deemer, not Deemer, remember he came on the Turnpike, what was his name? And there was a vacant place there, next to Irving, right on the Turnpike.
that's one
Yeah.
building. since
He was
it's
from
built.
Wallingford,
Yes.
Yeah,
remember his
the
name?
building I think was just recently.
No, no. Dean Martino, no, what's that?
Yes.
Yeah, the package.
Well, and the reason,
Yeah,
The reason I'm bringing him up is because I can recollect him coming to our commission when he was getting ready to do that meeting. And he says, you know, I was in Wallingford my whole life and I really never knew anything about Berlin. And then Miss Mahoney took me for a ride around and I was on Chamberlain Highway where we're talking. He says, and it was like I was in Vermont. That's exactly what he said. That whole section of Chamberlain Highway, he said, never knew. I felt like I was in Vermont. I remember him telling us that here. So, you know, there is that allure to that part of town that it feels, and this is, and this is.
It's in the, what do you call it?
plan of conservation and.
Yes, it's addressed.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Scenic,
Scenic vistas.
Yeah, all right, so it's called a scenic vista, okay.
So do we take his word saying there's only 2 trucks a day? We're talking, I'm assuming 18 wheelers.
Listen, and I can tell you, growing up on a vegetable farm.
Is that what we're talking about?
You ever eat a hot house?
It's a big trailer trucks, right?
He says box trucks. There's just no way, with the amount of space that's under there growing. You're making more lettuce than what 2 box trucks are gonna take out a day.
Okay, one thing I don't like too is where the parking is situated. Now, you have a residential home there. Okay? What's saying that they load up their trucks for the following morning and they're running the refrigeration, that reefer?
Well, there's definitely, there's not gonna be a south of the building, the reefers are gonna be running.
Reefers are gonna be
boxes, sure they are.
And isn't it normally for the regulations that you try to put the parking out of view of the street? That's not happening here.
No, because they said if they had to go back, the original meeting, they had to go back more than 200 feet. It's not economically feasible.
But let's see. Sorry, I don't agree. That's this, if this is 4.5 times bigger than the other one. The footprint, I think they've basically been looking around probably for years. And they found this spot, they're like, we can shove it in there, we can make it huge. I mean, that's what my concern is, that they're just, I mean, the guy. I wouldn't
care about her.
I wouldn't break bread with the guy in the corner there because, you know, the way he talked to us. But you know,
You do want to break bread?
I said I would,
No.
and that's the whole thing,
I
you
think-
know.
I think the key to this operation was one, getting the water from American. Because before that, they had to put well in, and they had a lot of other issues to address. And there's actually a meter pit there that's Fontanella put it back in the day. So
You gotta realize they came with 2 lawyers. 2 owners and an engineer today to like be able to.
I remember the last time they said there was
There's
gonna
gonna
be
be water
one
line
fill,
that's gonna run from.
and they were gonna
Irving
run
to
their
the-
water over and over again. Now it's not. It's all put well water like that.
goes from one reservoir to the other reservoir on Chamberlain Highway. It goes to the filtration line. It's already there. It's 20 or 24 inch line. It's been there for probably close to 100 years.
Oh, so what stops other property owners from tapping into that?
That's wrong. That's why the fire hydrants are black. Oh, it's not chlorinated. Years ago, all those houses were tapped into that. They just had raw water. And then back in the 70s, somebody started complaining and City of Barron shut down and they had a well.
Brings right into the brook on the side of the house.
Probably cleaner anyway.
And Solar's house, I mean, right now, it's in Shangri-La.
Yeah.
And what they're going to be looking at.
All right, so how do we put this in words? Or what
Well,
do we say?
again, we can support, not support a team. I'm not hearing support from this group. I'm hearing not support from most people.
But we need to
How
put
about-
all the things you just said or was said in writing, right? We don't support it because water, traffic, trucks.
And the economic.
Size.
You,
So let's,
Yeah, lack of economic,
I have bullet points that I haven't read.
what are you referring to?
Okay, if you want, I was gonna say, do you want to use the bullet points? And then
let's write them down and let's see.
So I just put the huge buildings will destroy the vista that gives Berlin one of the best, if not the best welcome mat.
Destroy Vista. Destroy Vista.
The residents in the area have been told that they pay higher property taxes compared to the same house in a different part of town. That will certainly devalue the properties in the area, or then an eyesore. They're gonna be taxed as PA 490, so there's no real tax revenue or benefit to the town inside of this project.
And that's, I think, from our angles, CPC, why we.
Right. I mean, we even have to be concerned with what Jim told me about Stockings Brook. Then in a matter of 5 inches of rain, all of a sudden, that brook went dry and the reservoir dropped 18 feet. First of all, that's an impossibility. So somebody's fudging with the water in that reservoir.
They drop.
Right, well, whatever.
Drinking water.
But listen, here's the deal. I should have been told that. It should have not sat well with somebody that works in town, the department had to say. Then 5 inches deficit, you look at the spillway, it's 18 feet below. And then 4 inches of rain comes up and all of a sudden it's over the spillway, foot on the brook. That should have not sat well with somebody in town. Should have.
Yeah, Dave, how are you gonna word it with just no economic value?
Well, I'm not gonna say no, we're gonna say limited economic benefit.
Yeah, okay. You're gonna tax the 2 trucks. Are the 2 trucks gonna be registered in Berlin?
No, because that's a farm, they can write off.
Well, they don't even own the
$100,000.
So if you're,
So I can put my John Deere down, I can put my manure spreader down, I can put those things down, I don't get taxed.
yeah, if you recollect the last meeting, they don't deliver, Stop Shop comes with their truck to pick up. They have no trucks, they don't own any trucks, no, the retailers come to them to get their product.
Okay, whatever we're doing here off the record, I'm gonna say.
Well, it's not off the record because we're right on live here,
Okay,
so
and then we're on the record.
we're on the record, sir, so.
Okay, well. The bottom line is there's no economic benefit to this town.
I think limited is what we, limited economic development.
Limited if any.
I would call it very limited economic.
Very limited economic development.
Well, economic,
And the negatives seem to outweigh the positives by a lot.
Where is the benefit?
To them.
outs. Well, out.
Products.
No, I mean,
Not to us.
where's
The only thing is
The
it might
town
create
owns
some jobs.
Some jobs, that's the only benefit. That I could see.
It's a huge change in environment to the residents that live in that
Yeah,
area.
it just, so it's very limited economic benefit, destroys the vista of the entire corner of that town and neighborhood. It devalues properties and there's no tax revenue. What else?
Possible water issues.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Okay,
the
yeah.
water, we don't know for sure. We have to talk to Meriden.
I'm concerned about the runoff inside the building with the fertilizer system.
The unknown.
Listen, you're gonna have something that's really close to you, your Christmas trees, it's 30 feet tall.
Really close.
There's no chance that it's not gonna throw a shadow onto your tree.
I'm worried about the sunlight and burning them. That's what I'm worried about.
Okay.
It would have to
I
be the
guess
side
we'll be here all night.
Let's go.
There's also gonna be a retaining wall next to it.
Because if it's a flat roof, you won't, if it's a pitched roof, then you're gonna get something. If it's flat, you might have, just a side.
I'm worried about the wall itself, not even the roof. Reflection of the sunlight. I don't know if you could put this in there, but I think it's gonna affect the growth of the property owner next door of his vegetables and Christmas trees.
Yeah, potentially it's gonna impact the growth of the crops on the farms that are abutting it or adjacent to them.
Yeah.
What is the chicken coop building? Is that used right now?
No.
Just sitting there.
But for reference, it's gonna be about 20 times wider than the chicken coop, the same height. 6 times longer. That's just building one.
Yeah, it's just one massive.
It's like an Amazon warehouse on the middle of Chamberlain Highway that destroys that welcome that comes into Berlin, and everybody talks about when they come. Do I have a problem if they have it in town? Put it on a commercial ground where it's no good, we don't have to break ground. Leave our farmland for farmland, you know?
Ready? So we've got
Okay, wait,
good
I'm
stuff.
just double checking here.
They come on 11-3.
We're not gonna meet again before then, so we gotta make our move, we're gonna do anything better. So what I have is I wrote down very limited economic benefit. Destroy the vista of the entire corner of town and neighborhood. Devalue properties. No tax revenue. Possible water issues, possible reflective issues affecting adjacent crops.
Thank you.
That's what I came up with, the hurt stuff that's not really beneficial. But I don't know if there's any others, but I think.
I mean, you mentioned it's a huge change and Chris mentioned the welcome mat. I can find a creative way to kind of take that stuff and put it together.
Yeah,
The fact that we already had neighbors that went
I wanna
around
do one
there
other thing.
staring at that sucker out their window.
Okay, I wanna add that what Ed said, conservation says this is a scenic something.
Scenic vista.
It's scenic vista.
Okay, so we have to put that in there. The conservation department or commission says that?
Yeah.
There's 8 or 9 things in there to go address, and that's one of them.
Plan of conservation.
Oh, the P O C D is what is.
I think POCD, yeah.
P O C
The
D
town of
says.
Berlin, when they did that originally,
Okay, so
87% of the population of the town said they would pay more
says
taxes
It's a
in order to
scenic what?
support keeping
Scenic
existing farmland.
Scenic.
in this town.
Says that part of town is a scenic vista.
Yes.
Says, okay, well, that's just another one. That part.
And we should say that
Scenic
because
vista.
when I bring people up to try to meet them, I have them come up that way and they always remark about it. I go, that's what makes Berlin unique. Because we have areas of town with some of the highest skilled labor that we have. And then you go up on the turnpike, you get anything you want. We're 5 minutes away from the turnpike. It's like you're in another state. That's the beauty of this town.
And that scenic vista P O C D was put there because of the conservation commission.
Yes.
They said that,
Yeah,
right?
they surveyed the citizens of town.
It's been in there for a while.
Okay,
I know for a fact that it's in 2013, but it was also existing before that.
you can read my scratch.
Yeah, no, we're good.
There's certain buildings that are in that.
We should take a picture of that now.
Picture of.
That's all.
Yeah, right now with all the foliage,
All
absolutely,
the
man, I think so.
That would help.
Oh, that would,
I'll meet you there.
yeah,
Take pictures of it tomorrow with you. Why not?
well, actually,
I don't know how we present it, but
no, not us, but what happens, somebody on the third, P and Z's meeting the third. Should just, you can't speak on the citizen on the third, right?
You can't.
You can't, but they're meeting.
No, it should be special permit, so it should be a
Not that I was here, I'm trying to inquire on it.
Says the opportunity for the
Was when they first changed.
let me grab the zoning book and just take a look, because I want to verify that.
Really, what somebody should.
Well, they can take your guys' feedback in a letter or otherwise.
Somebody should go to and copy the P O C D where it says that. And then you could have a panoramic view. There's a way to do it with,
Yeah.
and just show panoramic
how do
view.
we present that on?
Just give them a picture of, you can just have it made. so look at
For
it.
the audience of citizens.
Stuff.
That's it.
No.
Yeah.
You are correct, Mr. Chris. It is a permitted use, which means to be a site plan use. There would not be a public hearing on it because that's only for special permit uses. So yes, it would be allowed as a site plan use. So yes, there will be no public hearing, but I can be there to speak on behalf of this commission in letter, in person, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, so that becomes a motion.
So we need to make a motion. Someone needs to make a motion. Okay, Mr. Basham.
I make a motion that we
All of this stuff
deny this project.
Do not support.
Oh, I'm sorry. I make a motion, we do not support this agricultural project at Chamberlain Highway based on several reasons. It would destroy the vista in the entire corner of town and the neighborhood. It would devaluate properties. Would create no tax revenue for the town of Berlin, or very little. Possible water issues, both coming and going, as far as drainage and water coming to it. Possible reflective issues affecting adjacent property owners and their crops.
Huge change in welcome mat.
Oh, a huge change in the welcome mat coming into South Kensington. And
POCD.
POCD would affect the scenic vista of the neighborhood, which is based on the Conservation Commission.
And finally,
A very limited economic benefit to the town.
okay, so that was Mr. Bosch's motion. We're looking for a second somewhere. Mr. Coppola, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion passes.
So,
So the question remains is, do we want to send Chris to P and Z on the 3rd to state our motion and our concerns?
well, here's what I have.
What do we do?
I have, hold on, here, I have the project review sheet. They're looking for my feedback and by extension, your feedback. So essentially, I will have the minutes and
Oh,
this
you'll be
feedback.
able to,
It will go in with my packet.
This is Thursday,
This will be for November 3rd, for November
so
3rd.
we'll be getting in front of it earlier.
I don't think,
Deletes.
I don't think the opportunity presents itself because there is no,
well, they're meeting on the 20th.
But it's not on the
but
agenda.
there's no,
It's not on the agenda.
it's not on the agenda. There is no audience of citizens applying its own.
No, there is none.
No, there is.
So you can't talk.
No.
And so the only other thing I would suggest in addition to that, and you've got our motion and,
Yep.
we did it, is that if somebody could take a, because the PLCD is so important.
Yep.
And the scenic vista that's meant to, if somebody could take a panoramic shot of the mountain now, there's a way to do it on the phone.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. And you could actually have something made. But you could actually.
We're gonna get out of there.
You could have something made in like a statement, like.
Right,
a
right.
board, you could have a board made, Chris. At Staples.
How is there no audience citizen planning its own? Every commission is supposed to have that.
I don't believe they do. I can look at the agenda that.
We don't.
It'll take me 30 seconds to be. I just got it. Call to order, pledge of allegiance, new business, scheduled public hearings, old business. Planner comments. No audience of citizens.
Maybe we should add into that motion that if in fact P and Z goes to say they want to move forward, that they should have a public hearing with the residents around and have an opportunity to understand more about it.
Well, I would say that why don't we just make a second motion right now that we recommend what you just said?
Yeah.
I think it's only fair.
Yeah, because most of the neighbors don't know.
Okay.
They got a little window, but they're thinking there's gonna be an opportunity for them to talk. They're gonna be pissed when they find out they can't talk.
Okay, so you just said it, and just put it into a motion, make a motion.
They make a motion that planning and zoning,
No, that EDC
the
recommends.
EDC recommends that if this project, the planning and zoning were to move forward, that a public hearing should be presented so that the residents in the area have an opportunity to voice their opinion.
So are you saying that you would like a public hearing before it is heard by planning and zoning, or if they approve?
It ain't gonna work. We have to reword that. Because if they're not required to have that done, they'll write to court. Well, we should argue the fact that there's not an audience of citizens. Okay? That was established close to 30 years ago, that every commission should have audience of citizens. And it appears that plan that's on the
So we should make the motion to basically say,
That would be legal.
EDC would recommend that planning and zoning would conduct an audience to citizens or allow the citizens in the area an opportunity to speak.
And they said you got anything to choose, right? But if you have the
Okay.
other things illegal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we believe that they should be having the rights of citizens every time.
You might be stirring up a pot, but yeah, if you go to
This
probably,
kind of a scenario.
if you go to probably every other commission, that's usually.
Yeah, but if you make that a general blanket, that's gonna cause a lot of issues. I mean, people just want to open a business in town. Yeah, they have to one person. Yeah,
Well, could we make a motion that opinions on somehow consider all the neighbors in the area an opportunity
right.
to state their concerns? You
Make
know,
a-
something in
Give
real
the neighbors in the
specific,
area some consideration.
you know,
to the
maybe we
neighbors.
say that the EDC would possibly
Based on the size of a
size.
9,
And if size
Nine
scope.
Size, scope, and the impact.
Size, scope and impact,
But we would suggest that
size,
the citizens in the area, the residents in the area would have an opportunity.
impact. That means you give the neighbors, and that's part of town, an opportunity to speak and voice their concerns because of
Size
scope and impact.
of this project.
But you can't have it just for that application,
well, that's all we want it for.
legal and what's not.
But we can say what we want. They can say no.
Well, why can't we speak with the town attorney? Speak with the town attorney before we make this motion.
You know what I would say, because the size, scope and impact, we hope that planning and zoning allow an
Be
opportunity
willing to.
have all the neighbors and general surrounding area voice their concerns.
Yeah.
We said we hope. I mean, it's not like we're telling.
It would be our hope.
Yes, it would be our hope. Be our hope because of the size, scope and impact of this project.
That the neighbors in the area would
That-
have an
Don't
opportunity.
put that, put in that you have audience of citizens. You gotta watch how you word this.
We are hope that
because you're gonna we'll stick our foot in our mouth.
Well, yeah, I don't want to make a mistake.
It would be our hope that based on the size, scope, and impact of the project, that neighbors have an opportunity to express their concerns to an audience of citizens at planning and zoning.
You think that's okay to word it that way?
I think that is the best way to go because you're not opening the can of worms to everybody and you're not necessarily saying you must do a public hearing in order to go to court. So we think there's an opportunity for an audience of
Okay.
citizens here.
Yeah, you said it is our hope, right?
And you say no, it would be our hope that.
Say no.
Okay, let's go with it.
All right, who's making the motion? Ms. Copeland makes the motion that,
It would be our hope that based on the size, scope, and impact of the project, that neighbors have an opportunity to express their concerns through an audience of citizens at planning and zoning.
there you go, that's your motion. Second somewhere. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Okay. Okay, folks.
All right, so 550 Berlin Turnpike, this is the one that is the 106 units behind ABC Supply. So the two-page overview inside your packet on that one.
This is one you said they were gonna use the ABC, this
That-
building
that-
for the
that-
commercial and then put their stuff in.
That's my understanding, yes. But it does say here they're gonna reconfigure the parking lot for commercial buildings. I don't know what that means, additional buildings, because again, these folks have never approached me at all. Which is weird considering I know both the principals personally. So
It's kind of hard for a little find.
We haven't even
Rexa
seen,
doesn't have a plan, a site thing.
we haven't seen anything on this. We can't do it. I can't. We haven't seen it.
In the hundreds, always like that is the record.
Just table it, pass it.
And how does our regulations read? And it applies to an existing building? I mean, the intent of this is new construction.
it is.
We need more than that. Table.
Stable would be like-
Table until we get some action on this. Get some
Okay,
docs.
yeah, so the last one, a couple things quickly here, so, property on Deming Road has come on the market. It is a residential home right now, but it is being requested to be purchased by a landscaper to probably build a building and put his landscaping company in the house. And so just kind of just to check in, because I mean, to me, it makes sense. It's gonna be closer to what it's supposed to be, which is GI2, but it's zoned.
Is that the guy with the Patriot sign?
I have no idea which it is, to tell you the truth.
Because down behind, there's a landscaper there.
Yeah,
He's at the house.
it'd be next door to them.
It's gonna leave that.
Yes, that house.
Yes.
So essentially, what they would be doing is it'd be taking it, it'd be a use that's allowed in the zone, GI2. So I mean, it actually is a nice thing. I mean, this is more FY. I'm not necessarily
Oh,
looking.
yeah, it's allowed, so.
Yeah, it's allowed, which makes sense.
Okay.
So. Yeah, again, if we have an application, we'll come back, and which is an FYI.
So we're gonna knock down the existing house.
To be determined, we're gonna be meeting with the planners on it.
Okay.
Yep. So last one would be the infill development. I don't know whether or not that is something that we want to take a stand on, or.
Well, no.
Slippery slope on that one.
Leave it alone, and let it go.
Like steps in the
bottom.
Yeah.
We're just gonna table. The other one, this one is actually a new one that I'm excited to bring back up again, which is the land in front of State Park.
Excuse me,
Yes,
let's back up.
sure.
I don't know why we want to table this so quickly. We should, if to support any of this, is that it could be reviewed, but not eliminated. Everyone like that?
No. No, I wouldn't, because I don't think we're all. I don't think we know exactly where they stand right now. He's coming out with a new proposal. We don't know where they stand, what they think. I think we have to wait and see where, if the new proposal satisfies them, maybe they don't do it.
Yeah,
And then
I think this will come back. Yeah, I think this will come back to us. I have not seen anything official in the wonderful paperwork, so if I do, I can definitely let.
I think if we do something before they see this new updated plan.
They're looking right here to delete the planning residential infill development, okay? Hotel language. They want to eliminate, it, stop it altogether, okay? What has to happen here is it has to be amended, okay? It has to.
It's probably needs to be looked at its own merit.
Yes, so we can't just let this go. We just feel as though it should be reviewed and
And that each project should be seen and improved on its merits.
in essence, it's a good redevelopment tool, okay? But it was thrown in there a little too quickly, right? But for us to ignore the whole thing would be wrong tonight.
You have strong feelings, so I'm just gonna say that.
Now, tell us what.
Like I said, let's see what they say. Based on the new plan, maybe it's something that they're gonna just let go and say, okay, well, this satisfies what we want. If not, we'll see it again.
Let me ask a question. The new zone, whatever you call it, allowed his first project to go through, which upset everyone, right?
Yes.
And that's still in existence right now.
Yes, it is.
So another person could take a motel and design it the way Snow had his first project.
Yes.
Right, okay. So we can't allow that to stand. It has to be re-reviewed and fixed. Right? We can't because the way it was written and the way Snow came out with his first plan, it just made everyone upset and it was real close to the property line. So we know we can't leave it the way it is.
Right.
So it has to be fixed and reviewed.
Should be reviewed.
There's no question it has to be done. It has to be fixed.
How many of these properties are gonna have a
Put that,
Home.
See those friend behind us.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't care, like,
I don't know.
how many?
I don't.
Think about it.
The one right by you, that's Twin Spruce, right?
If that's a big yard behind it, then there's
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe.
Or is it, or does it have to be
Maybe it has to be fine tuned.
by special permit only? I don't know.
It is by special permit.
It is by special.
Respectable looking ones on the turnpike.
Yeah, I guess.
So I mean, when
You don't have how to say it.
what are setbacks, everything? Did he follow the rules that were in place?
But the other one he has, the other one doesn't run into a neighborhood, so if he had done the other one first,
The way the
he would have had that.
planning and zoning wrote its project. Is that what it was? 'Cause it-
Actually, he basically wrote it to fit his project.
He wrote it,
Yeah.
project, and they approved it.
Yeah, throughout the zone. And that's why the residents are so happy on it. Well, why didn't we get, because again, when it's zone wide, there is no public, there is no, the public hearing, there's no notice to abutters. Because literally in the ET or whatever zone it is, you've got 1,000 properties, so setting a list out is not realistic. Now with the project under special permit, everybody got the letter, and that's when people came up. I mean, I think he's done as good of a job as he could do at this point to make it fit. It is allowed, so I mean, they can essentially go forward and prove it at the next meeting.
And he's lost a couple of units, but that's about it.
Yeah, but still, I'm still sure it's gonna be very profitable.
Yeah, the density in there.
So what action do we want to take? Says delete planning and zoning residential infill. That's what they want to do, the neighbors do. Bob's is indicating he's correct. We don't know what the neighbors are gonna say when they see the new design. Okay, so we can't. I don't think we can agree to delete the whole thing. Mr. Agazarian says we should review it, which is certainly nothing wrong with reviewing something.
Yeah, I make a motion that this zone should be reviewed by planning and zoning. Possibly tweaked.
We would make that recommendation to them. Yes.
We're gonna find out exactly what's the zone.
Okay,
So I can,
I get it.
here, the XLDD zone.
So nothing was changed. He changed on his own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah, the original thing bottom is still there, the original shit that he wrote, day one is still
yeah.
there. When he had five little setbacks, that's still in play right now. He just was a nice guy, we moved slow.
It's getting late.
Getting slow.
A little slow.
I guess it should be re-reviewed and
I
modified.
thought
where
it was,
necessary.
and they said they, okay, I got you.
Yeah,
It can be re-reviewed and
I really
modified.
don't want the vintage hotels.
No.
I'm sorry, hotels.
Already, so reviewed and tweaked / modified as necessary. We have a motion.